Tonight, you're about to embark on an extraordinary journey through 5 incredible stories that will carry you peacefully into sleep while discovering the wonders of marine life. You'll meet Luna, a magnificent blue whale who travels thousands of miles across the Pacific, learning to sing the ancient songs of her kind. Follow Aria, an intelligent giant octopus who masters the art of camouflage and creates an underwater garden kingdom in the deep sea. Swim alongside Marina, a determined sea turtle who spends decades navigating ocean currents before returning to her birthplace to nest under the moonlight. Discover the world through Echo's eyes, a bottlenose dolphin who learns the magical art of echolocation and becomes a wise teacher in her pond. And venture into the abyss with Lure, a deep sea anglerfish who develops her iconic bioluminescent fishing rod and becomes a legendary predator of the midnight zone. Each story is designed to be deeply relaxing and educational, perfect for drifting off to sleep while learning about the incredible creatures that call our oceans home. The gentle pace and soothing narratives will help quiet your mind as you explore coral reefs, deep ocean trenches, and vast migration routes. If you enjoy these peaceful ocean journeys, please like this video, subscribe to Sleepless Teacher for more relaxing content, and leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. I love hearing from listeners around the globe as we all drift off to sleep together. Now get comfortable, close your eyes, and let the gentle rhythm of the ocean carry you away as we begin our journey into the deep blue sea. Sweet dreams, and welcome to the Ocean series. In the calm, turquoise waters of a protected lagoon off the coast of Baja California, something magnificent is about to happen. The morning sun filters through 20 feet of crystalline water, creating dancing patterns of light that shift and sway with the gentle current. Here, where the Pacific Ocean meets the desert coastline, the water maintains a perfect warmth that has drawn blue whales for millions of years. Deep beneath the surface, a mother blue whale, nearly 90 feet long and weighing as much as 30 elephants, prepares for the most important moment of her life. She has traveled thousands of miles from the rich feeding grounds of Alaska, guided by an ancient instinct that calls her to these breeding lagoons every 3 years. Her massive heart, the size of a small car, beats steadily as she positions herself in the shallow waters. With a gentle push that sends ripples through the water, Luna enters the world. At birth, she is already 23 feet long and weighs nearly 3 tons, yet she moves with surprising grace through the warm water. Her skin is a deep blue-gray, mottled with lighter patches that will become her unique identification for life. Her eyes, though small compared to her massive head, are alert and intelligent, taking in the filtered sunlight and the comforting presence of her mother. The umbilical cord breaks naturally as Luna takes her first conscious breath, her blowhole opening at the surface to release a towering spout of mist that catches the morning light like a geyser. Her mother's massive flipper, nearly 16 feet long, gently guides her closer, and Luna instinctively knows to stay near this protective giant who will be her teacher, guardian, and constant companion for the months ahead. In these first moments of life, Luna's world is defined by warmth, safety, and the rhythmic sound of her mother's heartbeat resonating through the water. The lagoon stretches around them like a natural nursery, its sandy bottom visible far below, dotted with rays and small fish that seem insignificant compared to the drama unfolding above. Other mother and calf pairs move slowly through the lagoon, their presence creating a sense of community and ancient wisdom that has guided these magnificent creatures through countless generations. Luna's education begins immediately, though she doesn't yet understand the magnitude of what she must learn. Her mother's milk, richer than the creamiest butter and containing more fat than any substance on Earth, flows freely as Luna learns to nurse. Each feeding session delivers nearly 150 gallons of this liquid gold, and Luna can feel herself growing stronger with each passing hour. Her weight increases by over 200 pounds every single day, a growth rate that seems impossible yet is perfectly natural for her species. The lagoon becomes Luna's classroom, and every moment teaches her something essential about being a blue whale. She learns to control her breathing, timing her trips to the surface with increasing precision. At first, she surfaces every few minutes, her small blowhole opening with enthusiasm as she releases clouds of warm vapor into the cool morning air. Her mother watches patiently, occasionally using her massive flipper to guide Luna to the surface when the calf becomes distracted by the dancing light patterns below. Swimming lessons happen naturally as Luna follows her mother through the lagoon's gentle currents. Her tail fluke, though still small compared to what it will become, propels her through the water with surprising efficiency. She learns to use her pectoral fins for steering, discovering how slight adjustments can send her gliding in graceful arcs through the water. The sensation of moving through 3 dimensions, free from gravity's constraints, fills her with a joy that bubbles up in soft vocalizations that her mother answers with deep, resonant calls. These calls become Luna's second language, a complex system of communication that travels for miles through the ocean. Her mother's voice is incredibly deep, some of the sounds below the range of human hearing, creating vibrations that Luna feels in her bones as much as she hears with her ears. She learns that different calls mean different things. The soft, rhythmic sounds that mean safety and comfort, the slightly sharper tones that indicate it's time to surface and breathe, and the longer, more complex songs that seem to tell stories of journeys yet to come. As days pass in the lagoon, Luna grows more confident and curious. She investigates the sandy bottom, her sensitive skin detecting the subtle vibrations of buried clams and worms. Small fish dart around her massive head, completely unafraid of this gentle giant who poses no threat to creatures so far below her in size. She learns to feel the water's temperature changes, the subtle currents that indicate wind patterns above, and the way sound travels differently through water of varying depths. Her mother demonstrates patience beyond measure, never rushing Luna's development, always staying close enough to provide comfort but far enough away to allow exploration. This balance of protection and independence will shape Luna's character for life, teaching her both the confidence to explore the vast ocean and the wisdom to respect its power. In these protected waters, surrounded by the warmth of maternal love and the ancient rhythms of the sea, Luna prepares for the incredible journey that awaits beyond the lagoon's sheltering embrace. After 2 months in the protected lagoon, Luna has doubled in size and gained the strength necessary for the greatest journey on Earth. The water temperature has begun to shift, and her mother senses the changing seasons that signal it's time to leave their safe haven. Luna, now nearly 40 feet long and weighing close to 15 tons, swims alongside her mother toward the lagoon's entrance, where the calm waters meet the endless expanse of the Pacific. The transition from lagoon to open ocean is gradual but profound. The seafloor drops away beneath them, first to 50 feet, then 100, then into depths that seem infinite. Luna feels a thrill mixed with apprehension as the water around her changes from the familiar turquoise of the shallows to the deep, mysterious blue of the open sea. The sounds change too. Gone are the gentle lapping waves against the shore, replaced by the vast, echoing silence of deep water punctuated by the distant calls of other marine life. Their destination lies 3,000 miles to the north, in the cold, nutrient-rich waters off the coast of Alaska. This migration, one of the longest undertaken by any mammal, will test Luna's endurance and teach her about the ocean's many moods. Her mother sets a steady pace, swimming at roughly 5 miles per hour, a speed that allows them to cover great distances while conserving energy for the months ahead. As they travel north along the California coast, Luna discovers that the ocean is far from empty. Pods of dolphins race alongside them, their playful energy a stark contrast to the whales' measured progress. Sea lions surface nearby, their curious faces watching the giants pass before diving back into the depths. Above the surface, seabirds follow their progress, hoping to benefit from the small fish and krill that the whale's movements bring to the surface. The water grows noticeably cooler as they progress northward, and Luna's body begins to adapt. Her blubber layer, which has been steadily thickening since birth, now provides essential insulation against the changing temperatures. She learns to recognize the subtle signs that indicate rich feeding areas. The slight green tint to the water that suggests plankton blooms, the increased bird activity above the surface, and the complex patterns of currents that concentrate marine life. Nights in the open ocean reveal wonders Luna never imagined in the lagoon. Bioluminescent plankton create trails of living light as they swim, turning their wake into streams of blue-green fire. The moon's path across the water provides a silver highway that stretches to the horizon, and Luna learns to navigate by the stars that wheel overhead in patterns her ancestors have followed for millions of years. Her mother's songs during this journey take on new complexity, carrying messages across vast distances to other blue whales scattered throughout the Pacific. Luna begins to understand that these calls serve as a kind of whale internet, sharing information about feeding areas, weather patterns, and safe routes through the ocean. She adds her own voice to these conversations, her calls growing stronger and more confident with each passing day. Storms test their resolve, with waves that tower above even Luna's growing bulk. During these challenging times, she learns to trust her mother's experience and her own instincts, diving deep beneath the turbulent surface where the water remains calm and steady. These lessons in weather survival will serve her well throughout her long life, teaching her to read the ocean's moods and respond accordingly. As they near the halfway point of their journey, Luna has grown into a confident young whale, no longer the helpless calf who first entered the world in the warm lagoon. She swims with increasing independence, sometimes ranging several hundred yards from her mother before returning to the safety of her side. The vast Pacific no longer seems overwhelming, but instead feels like home, an endless realm of possibility where she belongs completely. The waters off the coast of Northern California hold a revelation that will define Luna's existence for the rest of her life. Here, where cold currents rich in nutrients rise from the deep ocean floor, her mother slows their northward journey and begins to demonstrate the feeding behavior that makes blue whales the most efficient hunters in the sea. Luna watches in fascination as her mother approaches what appears to be an enormous reddish-brown cloud suspended in the water. The cloud stretches for hundreds of yards in every direction, so dense that it blocks out the filtered sunlight. As they draw closer, Luna realizes that this massive formation is composed of billions upon billions of tiny, shrimp-like creatures called krill, each no longer than her flipper, but collectively representing one of the ocean's greatest concentrations of protein. Her mother demonstrates the feeding technique that has made blue whales the largest animals ever to live on Earth. Opening her massive jaws to an angle that seems impossible, she engulfs enormous volumes of krill-laden water, her throat pleats expanding like an accordion to accommodate the tremendous intake. Luna watches as her mother's throat grooves, which run from her chin to her belly, balloon outward to hold nearly 20,000 gallons of water and krill. The next phase of feeding amazes Luna even more. Her mother's tongue, which weighs as much as an entire elephant, acts like a massive piston, forcing the water back out through her baleen plates while trapping the krill inside. These baleen plates, made of the same material as human fingernails but arranged in hundreds of fringed curtains, act as the most efficient filter feeding system nature has ever devised. In a single mouthful, her mother can capture several tons of krill. Luna's first attempts at this complex feeding behavior are clumsy but endearing. Her mouth is still too small and her coordination too undeveloped to achieve the massive water intake of an adult, but she practices the motions with determination. She learns to feel the density of krill swarms with her sensitive lower jaw, understanding how to position herself for maximum efficiency. The taste of krill, rich with oils and proteins, becomes associated with satisfaction and the promise of growth. The feeding grounds reveal themselves to be incredibly rich ecosystems. Seabirds dive from above, creating underwater trails of bubbles as they pursue the same krill that sustains the whales. Smaller whales and dolphins work the edges of the swarms, while sea lions and seals dart through the water in graceful hunting dances. Luna begins to understand that she is part of a complex web of life, all dependent on these tiny creatures that form the foundation of the ocean's food chain. As Luna grows more skilled at feeding, she discovers the meditative quality of the process. The rhythmic opening and closing of her jaws, the sensation of water flowing through her baleen, and the steady accumulation of nutrition create a peaceful, almost trance-like state. This feeding behavior will occupy much of her adult life, and learning to find peace and satisfaction in its repetitive nature becomes essential to her well-being. Her mother teaches her to recognize the signs of rich krill concentrations, the way the water changes color, the patterns of bird activity above, and the subtle changes in water temperature and salinity that indicate upwelling currents. Luna learns that successful feeding requires patience, observation, and the ability to read the ocean's subtle signals. The abundance of food in these northern waters allows Luna to continue her rapid growth. She adds hundreds of pounds each day, her body stretching longer and her strength increasing exponentially. The milk she still receives from her mother, combined with her own krill consumption, fuels a growth rate that seems almost magical in its intensity. In the deep waters off Alaska, where the continental shelf drops into abyssal depths, Luna discovers that blue whales possess the most powerful voices in the animal kingdom. The songs her mother has been teaching her throughout their journey now reveal their true purpose and incredible range. These calls, some of the lowest frequency sounds produced by any living creature, can travel hundreds or even thousands of miles through the ocean sound channel. Luna's voice is maturing, dropping in pitch as her body grows larger and her vocal apparatus develops. What began as higher-pitched calf calls now deepens into the resonant tones that will define her adult communication. She learns that different types of calls serve different purposes. The long, mournful songs that can travel across entire ocean basins to locate other blue whales, the shorter contact calls used for closer communication, and the complex feeding calls that coordinate group hunting behaviors. Her mother demonstrates how to use the ocean itself as an amplifier. By positioning herself at specific depths where water temperature and pressure create natural sound channels, her calls can travel incredible distances with minimal energy expenditure. Luna practices finding these acoustic sweet spots, learning to feel the subtle changes in water density that indicate optimal calling conditions. The songs carry information that Luna is only beginning to understand. Embedded in the complex patterns of low-frequency pulses are details about feeding areas, weather conditions, and the locations of other whale families. Luna learns to recognize the individual voice signatures of whales they have never met, understanding that the ocean connects her to a vast community spread across thousands of miles. Sometimes, responses to their calls come from whales so distant that the sound has traveled for hours through the water. These phantom voices from beyond the horizon fill Luna with wonder and a sense of connection to something much larger than herself. She begins to understand that blue whales are not solitary creatures, but part of an acoustic network that spans the entire Pacific Ocean. Luna practices her own songs during the long, peaceful hours of feeding and traveling. Her calls grow more sophisticated, incorporating the complex rhythms and patterns she has learned from her mother. She discovers that singing brings her joy and a sense of identity, marking her place in the vast ocean and announcing her presence to the underwater world. The timing of calls becomes crucial to Luna's education. She learns that the ocean has quiet periods when her voice will carry furthest, usually during dawn and dusk when the thermal layers are most stable. During storms, when the surface water is churned and chaotic, deeper calls work better than surface vocalizations. Her mother teaches her about call and response patterns, the polite protocols of whale conversation that prevent the acoustic space from becoming cluttered with overlapping voices. Luna learns to wait her turn, to listen carefully to distant responses, and to modulate her own calls to fit harmoniously into the ongoing ocean-wide conversation. As her vocal abilities develop, Luna begins to experiment with her own variations on traditional themes. Like a jazz musician learning to improvise, she takes the basic structures her mother has taught her and adds her own subtle modifications. These personal touches will eventually become her unique vocal signature, as distinctive as a human fingerprint and recognizable to other whales across vast distances. As Luna approaches her first birthday, her relationship with her mother begins to shift in subtle but significant ways. She now measures nearly 60 feet in length and weighs close to 40 tons, no longer the helpless calf who depended entirely on her mother's milk and protection. Her increasing size and confidence allow her to venture further from her mother's side, exploring the underwater world with growing independence. The rich feeding grounds of Alaska have become Luna's playground and university. She spends hours practicing her feeding techniques, refining the complex coordination required to engulf massive volumes of krill-laden water. Her baleen plates have fully developed, creating an efficient filtering system that allows her to process thousands of gallons of water with each feeding cycle. The rhythmic nature of feeding becomes almost meditative, a peaceful activity that connects her to the fundamental rhythms of ocean life. Luna's curiosity leads her to investigate aspects of the marine environment that her mother had previously handled for both of them. She learns to read water conditions independently, recognizing the subtle signs that indicate changes in weather, the presence of predators, or the location of rich feeding areas. Her ability to echolocate, though not as sophisticated as that of toothed whales, helps her navigate in murky water and locate concentrations of prey. Social interactions with other whales become more complex as Luna develops her own personality and communication style. She encounters other mother-calf pairs and begins to form relationships independent of her mother's connections. These interactions teach her about whale social dynamics, territorial behaviors, and the complex etiquette that governs relationships between these massive creatures. The seasonal patterns of the northern Pacific become familiar to Luna as she experiences her first full cycle of summer feeding. She learns to recognize the signs that indicate when the rich krill blooms will peak, when weather patterns will shift, and when it will be time to begin the return journey to warmer waters. This natural calendar, written in water temperature, daylight patterns, and prey availability, becomes an essential part of her navigation system. Luna's mother begins to allow longer separations, sometimes traveling several miles apart while maintaining acoustic contact through their deep, resonant calls. These solo explorations build Luna's confidence and teach her to rely on her own judgment and instincts. She learns to trust her ability to find food, navigate currents, and respond appropriately to various situations. During one memorable encounter, Luna meets a group of juvenile blue whales, individuals who have recently separated from their own mothers. These peer relationships introduce her to play behaviors she had never experienced, including gentle ramming games, synchronized swimming, and complex vocal interactions that seem to serve no purpose other than enjoyment. These social connections hint at the rich community life that awaits her in adulthood. The approach of autumn brings subtle changes to the ocean environment that Luna is learning to recognize. Water temperatures begin to drop slightly, krill distributions shift, and the angle of sunlight penetrating the water changes in ways that affect the entire marine ecosystem. Her mother's behavior indicates that major changes are approaching, and Luna senses that her first great migration cycle is nearing completion. As the northern Pacific begins its transition toward winter, Luna and her mother prepare for the long journey back to the breeding grounds of Baja California. This return migration carries different significance than their northward journey 8 months earlier. Luna is no longer a dependent calf, but a confident young whale approaching the natural time of separation from her mother. The southward journey follows different routes and rhythms than their earlier migration. With Luna now capable of sustained swimming at adult speeds, they can take more direct paths through deeper waters, avoiding some of the coastal areas they had followed during her early development. Their pace is steady but unhurried, allowing time for continued feeding on the rich krill patches they encounter along the way. Luna notices changes in her mother's behavior as they travel south. The protective vigilance that had characterized their earlier relationship gradually gives way to a more companionable partnership. Her mother still leads the way and makes decisions about routes and feeding stops, but she increasingly defers to Luna's preferences and allows her daughter to take initiative in various situations. The California current carries them southward like a vast conveyor belt, its cold, nutrient-rich water supporting the marine ecosystem that has sustained them throughout the summer. Luna has learned to use these currents to her advantage, positioning herself to gain maximum assistance from the ocean's natural flow patterns while expending minimal energy. As they pass familiar landmarks along the coast, Luna's memory creates a mental map of the Pacific Ocean that will guide her for the rest of her life. She recognizes the underwater topography of certain areas, the distinctive taste of water from different regions, and the acoustic signatures of various coastal features. This navigation system, built through direct experience rather than instruction, becomes an integral part of her growing independence. The songs they exchange during this journey carry undertones of approaching farewell. Luna's calls have deepened significantly, now reaching the low frequencies that will characterize her adult vocalizations. Her mother's responses seem to acknowledge this development, treating Luna's communications with the respect accorded to another adult whale rather than a dependent offspring. Encounters with other migrating whales become more frequent as they approach the warmer waters where many blue whales congregate during winter months. Luna observes how her mother interacts with these other adults, learning the social protocols that govern relationships between mature whales. She begins to participate in these interactions herself, no longer hiding behind her mother, but contributing her own voice to the underwater conversations. The water temperature rises gradually as they travel south, and Luna's body responds by beginning to shed some of the extra blubber she accumulated during the rich feeding period in Alaska. This natural seasonal adjustment prepares her for the warmer waters ahead and demonstrates her body's growing ability to regulate itself according to environmental conditions. Approaching the breeding lagoons where Luna was born, both mother and daughter seem to sense that their relationship is about to change forever. The protective bond that has sustained Luna through her first year of life has successfully prepared her for independence, and the warm waters ahead represent not just a destination, but a transition into a new phase of her existence as a fully capable member of the blue whale community. In the warm waters off Baja California, where Luna first drew breath, the most significant transition of her young life unfolds with quiet dignity. Her mother, who has devoted nearly a year to ensuring Luna's survival and education, begins the natural process of separation that will launch her daughter into independent adulthood. The separation doesn't happen suddenly, but evolves over several days as a gradual loosening of their constant companionship. Luna's mother begins taking longer feeding trips alone, leaving her daughter to practice independent survival for hours at a time. These solo periods teach Luna to rely completely on her own abilities while still providing the safety net of her mother's eventual return. Luna discovers that independence brings both freedom and responsibility. Without her mother's guidance, she must make all decisions about where to feed, when to rest, and how to respond to various situations. Her confidence grows with each successful solo feeding session, each correct navigation decision, and each appropriate response to other marine life. The final farewell occurs during a peaceful morning in the breeding lagoons. Luna's mother approaches her one last time, their massive bodies moving together in a slow, graceful dance that seems to acknowledge the completion of a successful upbringing. They touch gently, flipper to flipper, in a gesture that conveys both love and release. Luna's mother then begins to swim away, her powerful tail propelling her toward deeper waters and the next phase of her own life cycle. Her calls to Luna carry across the water, but they are farewell songs rather than instructions or guidance. Luna responds with her own vocalizations, sounds that express both gratitude and growing confidence in her ability to navigate the world alone. Watching her mother's distinctive spout disappear beyond the horizon, Luna experiences a mixture of emotions that seems to combine sadness with excitement. The protective presence that has defined her entire existence is gone, but in its place is the vast ocean full of possibilities and adventures waiting to be discovered. Luna's first completely independent decisions involve choosing where to feed and which direction to travel. She finds herself drawn to areas where other young whales congregate, instinctively seeking the company of individuals in similar life circumstances. These loose social groups provide companionship without the intensity of the mother-calf bond, allowing Luna to practice adult social behaviors in a supportive environment. The skills her mother taught her prove their worth immediately as Luna successfully navigates feeding, weather challenges, and social interactions without assistance. Her ability to find rich krill concentrations, communicate effectively with other whales, and respond appropriately to various ocean conditions demonstrates that her year-long education has been thoroughly successful. As Luna settles into her new independent life, she begins to develop her own preferences and personality traits that distinguish her from her mother and other whales. She discovers particular feeding areas that suit her style, develops friendships with specific individuals, and starts to establish the patterns that will characterize her adult behavior. The freedom to explore without constant supervision reveals aspects of the ocean that Luna had never fully appreciated. She ventures into new depths, investigates underwater features that had previously been off-limits, and begins to understand the vast scope of the marine world that is now completely hers to explore. On a warm Caribbean night, when the full moon hangs like a silver beacon over the gentle waves, something magical stirs beneath the sand of a pristine beach. 20 inches below the surface, in a chamber carefully excavated by her mother 2 months ago, Marina begins the most dangerous journey of her life before she has even seen the world above. The nest, perfectly positioned above the high tide line, has been Marina's entire universe for 63 days. Heated by the sun and insulated by the sand, this underground nursery has provided the exact conditions needed for her development. Now, as she breaks free from her leathery eggshell using a special egg tooth that will disappear within days, Marina feels an overwhelming urge to dig upward towards something she instinctively knows she must reach. Marina is no bigger than a silver dollar, weighing less than an ounce, yet she possesses an ancient wisdom encoded in her genes. Her shell, still soft and flexible, is dark gray with lighter markings that will help camouflage her during the perilous journey ahead. Her flippers, perfectly formed miniatures of what they will become, begin their first coordinated movements as she joins her siblings in a collective effort to reach the surface. The upward dig is exhausting work for creatures so small, but instinct drives them onward. Marina and her 97 nestmates work together, their combined efforts gradually loosening the sand above them. The process takes several hours, with frequent rest periods when the tiny turtles huddle together for warmth and comfort. They seem to sense that timing is crucial. Emerging during daylight would mean almost certain death from predators and heat. As the sand above them grows thinner, Marina begins to detect subtle changes that guide her final push toward freedom. The temperature variations indicate the difference between buried sand and surface sand. Faint vibrations from above suggest wind and waves. Most importantly, an inexplicable magnetic pull draws her toward what she somehow knows is the ocean. Finally, Marina's tiny flipper breaks through the surface, followed immediately by her head. The sensation of cool night air on her skin is shocking after the constant warmth of the nest. The world above is vast beyond imagination, filled with sounds and smells and movements that her underground existence never prepared her for. The moon's light illuminates a landscape of rolling dunes and swaying palm trees, but Marina's attention is immediately captured by something that calls to her very soul, the rhythmic sound of waves breaking on the shore. Without hesitation, Marina begins her race against time. Ghost crabs scuttle across the sand, their stalked eyes searching for easy prey. Seabirds patrol the beach, hoping to snatch up disoriented hatchlings. Every second spent on the sand increases the danger, yet Marina must navigate the treacherous terrain between her nest and the life-giving sea. Her flippers, designed for swimming rather than walking, push against the shifting sand as she orients herself toward the brightest horizon, the moon's reflection on the ocean's surface. The journey across the beach, though only 50 yards, represents the most perilous adventure of Marina's young life. Each step brings her closer to safety, but also exposes her to predators that have learned to time their hunts for these vulnerable moments. Her dark coloration helps her blend with the nighttime sand, but movement makes her visible to any creature watching for the telltale signs of hatchling emergence. The moment Marina's tiny flippers touch the warm Caribbean water, her entire world transforms. The crushing weight of gravity that made movement across the sand so laborious suddenly disappears, replaced by the weightless freedom of her natural element. The gentle waves lift her small body and carry her away from the dangerous shore, each rolling surge taking her further from the predators that patrol the beach. Her first sensation is the taste of salt water as it flows over her tongue and through her nostrils. This ancient flavor triggers responses deep in her genetic memory, activating behaviors that have guided her species for over 100 million years. Her flippers, awkward and clumsy on land, now move with graceful precision, propelling her through the water with surprising efficiency for such a tiny creature. The underwater world that Marina enters is alive with movement and sound. Moonlight penetrates several feet below the surface, creating shifting patterns of silver and blue that dance across the sandy bottom. Small fish dart between coral formations, their movements creating flashes of reflected light. The water itself carries vibrations and currents that Marina's sensitive body immediately begins to interpret and understand. As she swims away from shore, Marina instinctively dives deeper to avoid the surface turbulence where predators might be waiting. Her lungs, though tiny, are incredibly efficient, allowing her to hold her breath for several minutes while she navigates the underwater landscape. She learns to use the surge and retreat of waves to assist her movement, riding the underwater currents like a miniature surfer. The reef ecosystem that Marina encounters represents one of Earth's most diverse and productive environments. Coral formations rise from the sandy bottom like underwater cities, their surfaces covered with colorful sponges, algae, and small invertebrates. Schools of juvenile fish move through the water in synchronized formations, their silver sides flashing in the filtered moonlight. Sea fans wave gently in the current, and night-blooming corals extend their polyps to feed on passing plankton. Marina's diet during these first critical hours consists mainly of small planktonic organisms that drift through the water column. Her mouth, though tiny, is perfectly designed to capture these microscopic creatures. She learns to position herself in current flows where plankton concentrates, maximizing her feeding efficiency while minimizing energy expenditure. Each successful feeding session provides the calories needed for continued growth and survival. The sounds of the reef at night create a symphony that Marina quickly learns to interpret. The clicking of shrimp, the grinding of parrotfish feeding on coral, and the subtle whoosh of water moving through coral formations all provide information about her environment. These acoustic cues help her navigate in low light conditions and locate both food sources and potential dangers. Predators in this environment are numerous and varied. Fish that seemed small and harmless during the day transform into efficient hunters under cover of darkness. Marina learns to recognize the subtle signs that indicate danger, sudden changes in the movement patterns of other creatures, unusual sounds that suggest a large predator is nearby, and the instinctive alarm calls of various reef inhabitants. As her first night in the ocean progresses, Marina develops a sense of the reef's geography. She learns to recognize distinctive coral formations that can serve as landmarks, understands how to use current patterns to her advantage, and begins to identify safe resting spots where she can pause without exposing herself to unnecessary risk. This underwater navigation system will become increasingly sophisticated as she grows and gains experience. By dawn, Marina has traveled several hundred yards from her birthplace, carried by currents and her own determined swimming. The rising sun transforms the underwater world once again, bringing new colors and revealing daytime creatures that had been hidden during the night. Marina has successfully survived her most vulnerable period and begun the long journey toward adulthood in the vast ocean that is now her home. As Marina grows from a thumb-sized hatchling into a dinner plate-sized juvenile, she enters one of the most mysterious phases of sea turtle life. Carried by the powerful Gulf Stream current, she finds herself in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, in a remarkable ecosystem known as the Sargasso Sea. Here, floating mats of golden brown seaweed create an ocean prairie that stretches beyond the horizon in every direction. The sargassum seaweed that gives this region its name forms dense, interconnected rafts that provide both shelter and food for countless marine creatures. Marina learns to navigate through these floating forests, using her strengthening flippers to move between the tangled fronds. The seaweed offers perfect camouflage for a young turtle, its brown and yellow coloration matching the developing patterns on Marina's shell. Life among the sargassum teaches Marina patience and precision. The seaweed harbors an incredible diversity of small creatures, tiny crabs that scuttle along the fronds, juvenile fish that dart between the branches, and countless invertebrates that filter nutrients from the water. Marina becomes an expert hunter in this three-dimensional environment, learning to spot prey hidden among the vegetation and to time her strikes perfectly. The floating lifestyle requires new adaptations and behaviors. Marina discovers that she can rest by wedging herself securely among the seaweed fronds, allowing the ocean's gentle motion to rock her while she conserves energy. She learns to ride the currents efficiently, positioning herself within the sargassum mats to gain maximum benefit from the water's movement while expending minimal effort. Seasons in the open ocean are marked by subtle changes that Marina gradually learns to recognize. Water temperature fluctuations indicate the passage of weather systems. Changes in plankton abundance affect the entire food web. The angle and intensity of sunlight penetrating the water column varies with the Earth's orbit around the sun. These natural rhythms become part of Marina's internal clock, guiding her feeding and activity patterns. The Sargasso Sea's unique ecosystem supports an amazing variety of life forms that most people never see. Portuguese man-o'-war drift across the surface, their venomous tentacles streaming below them like deadly ribbons. Flying fish launch themselves from the water to escape predators, their wing-like fins carrying them remarkable distances through the air. Dolphins and whales pass through the area during their migrations, their presence detected by Marina through the water's vibrations. Marina's shell begins to harden and develop its adult coloration during these floating years. The soft, flexible carapace of her hatchling days gradually becomes the strong, protective armor that will serve her throughout her adult life. Her flippers grow more powerful, and her swimming becomes increasingly efficient. She develops the ability to dive deeper and hold her breath longer, expanding her foraging range and escape options. Feeding opportunities in the sargassum are both abundant and varied. Marina learns to recognize and exploit different food sources. The small fish and crustaceans that live among the seaweed, the jellyfish that drift through the area, and the various types of marine vegetation that provide essential nutrients. Her diet gradually shifts from the tiny planktonic organisms of her earliest days to larger, more substantial prey items. Predators in the open ocean are different from those Marina encountered in coastal waters. Large fish, sharks, and seabirds all pose potential threats, but the vast distances and complex three-dimensional structure of the sargassum environment provide numerous escape routes and hiding places. Marina develops keen senses and quick reflexes, learning to detect danger early and respond appropriately. As months pass in the floating seaweed mats, Marina grows steadily larger and more capable. Her survival skills become increasingly sophisticated, her knowledge of ocean conditions more complete, and her ability to find food and avoid danger more refined. The Sargasso Sea serves as both nursery and university, preparing her for the next phase of her oceanic journey. As Marina approaches her third year of life, she begins to understand that the ocean is not a uniform expanse of water, but rather a complex system of invisible highways that can carry her across vast distances with minimal effort. The currents that have been supporting and guiding her since her first night in the Caribbean now reveal their deeper patterns and purposes. The Gulf Stream, which initially carried Marina northward from her birthplace, represents just one component of a vast circulation system that connects all the world's oceans. Marina learns to feel the subtle differences between water masses, the temperature variations that indicate different current systems, the salinity changes that suggest proximity to land or deep ocean upwelling, and the characteristic movement patterns that define each oceanic river. Her navigation abilities develop through a combination of instinct and experience. Marina discovers that she possesses an internal magnetic compass that allows her to detect the Earth's magnetic field and use it for orientation. This remarkable sense, combined with her growing ability to read water conditions, enables her to maintain her position within favorable current systems even when visibility is limited. The seasonal patterns of ocean circulation become familiar to Marina as she experiences multiple annual cycles. She learns that currents strengthen and weaken according to predictable schedules, that water temperatures follow regular patterns, and that food availability fluctuates in response to these oceanographic changes. This knowledge allows her to anticipate optimal feeding conditions and position herself advantageously within the current system. Marina's foraging strategy evolves to take advantage of current-related phenomena. She discovers that convergence zones, where different water masses meet, concentrate both prey and nutrients. Upwelling areas, where deep, cold water rises to the surface, create rich feeding opportunities. She learns to recognize the subtle signs that indicate these productive zones and to time her feeding activities accordingly. The deep scattering layer, a phenomenon that occurs when millions of small marine organisms migrate vertically through the water column each day, becomes an important part of Marina's feeding routine. She learns to follow this living layer as it rises toward the surface at night, providing abundant feeding opportunities, then descends to deeper waters during the day. Interactions with other marine species teach Marina about the complex relationships that exist within ocean ecosystems. She observes how dolphins use current edges for efficient travel, how seabirds concentrate their feeding activities in areas where currents create upwelling, and how other sea turtles position themselves to take advantage of favorable water conditions. Marina's swimming efficiency improves dramatically as she learns to work with ocean currents rather than against them. She develops the ability to slip between current systems, using the boundaries between different water masses to gain speed or change direction with minimal energy expenditure. Her understanding of three-dimensional current structure allows her to dive to different depths to access favorable flow patterns. The magnetic map that guides Marina's navigation becomes increasingly detailed and sophisticated. She learns to recognize the magnetic signatures of different geographic regions, the characteristic patterns that indicate proximity to landmasses, and the subtle variations that help her maintain her position within the optimal zone of the current system. Whether patterns at the ocean's surface influence the current systems below in ways that Marina gradually learns to interpret. She discovers that storms can temporarily alter current patterns, that seasonal wind changes affect surface flow, and that long-term climate variations can shift the entire circulation system. This knowledge helps her adapt her behavior to changing conditions. As Marina's fourth year begins, her mastery of ocean navigation has transformed her from a passive drifter into an active participant in the current systems. She can now choose her route through the ocean, selecting paths that optimize her feeding opportunities while minimizing energy expenditure. This skill will serve her well as she approaches the next major transition in her life, the journey back to coastal waters, where she will complete her transformation into a fully adult sea turtle. After 5 years in the open ocean, Marina has grown from a tiny hatchling into a magnificent juvenile sea turtle nearly 3 feet long and weighing close to 60 pounds. The time has come for her to leave the floating sargassum beds and return to the coastal waters where her life began. This transition marks not just a change in habitat, but a fundamental shift in her lifestyle and diet. The journey back to the Caribbean reefs follows the same current systems that carried Marina into the open ocean years earlier. But now, she travels as an experienced navigator rather than a passive drifter. Her powerful flippers propel her through the water with confident strokes, and her ability to read ocean conditions allows her to choose the most efficient routes through the complex current patterns. As Marina approaches the Caribbean chain of islands, the water around her begins to change in subtle but significant ways. The deep ocean blue gradually gives way to the clearer, more varied colors of shallow coastal waters. The marine life becomes more diverse and abundant, with schools of tropical fish replacing the sparse populations of the open sea. Most importantly, the taste and smell of the water carries hints of the seagrass beds and coral reefs that will become her new home. Marina's first encounter with a seagrass meadow reveals the dramatic change in her dietary needs that accompanies this habitat transition. The lush underwater prairies that carpet the shallow areas between coral reefs represent an entirely new type of ecosystem from anything she experienced in the open ocean. These beds of turtle grass and manatee grass provide the vegetarian diet that will sustain her adult life. Learning to graze efficiently requires Marina to develop new feeding techniques and jaw strength. The tough, fibrous seagrass requires careful harvesting and thorough chewing to extract maximum nutrition. Marina discovers that she must crop the grass blades carefully, taking only the tender tips while leaving the root systems intact to ensure continued growth. This sustainable harvesting behavior benefits both the turtle and the ecosystem. The seagrass beds support an incredibly diverse community of marine life that Marina gradually learns to identify and interact with. Parrotfish graze on algae growing on the grass blades, their constant munching creating a gentle background sound. Conch shells plow through the sandy channels between grass patches, leaving distinctive trails in the sediment. Small fish dart between the grass blades, using the dense vegetation as protection from larger predators. Marina's presence in the seagrass beds creates benefits for the entire ecosystem. Her grazing activities help maintain the health of the grass beds by preventing overgrowth and promoting new shoot development. Her movements through the sediment help aerate the bottom and distribute nutrients. Other species learn to follow feeding turtles, taking advantage of the small creatures that are disturbed by the turtles' foraging activities. The coral reefs that border the seagrass meadows provide Marina with additional feeding opportunities and resting places. She learns to navigate the complex three-dimensional structure of the reef, finding cleaning stations where small fish remove algae and parasites from her shell, and discovering caves and overhangs where she can rest safely during the hottest parts of the day. Social interactions with other sea turtles become more frequent as Marina establishes herself in the coastal habitat. She encounters other juveniles who have made the same transition from oceanic to coastal life, as well as adult turtles who serve as examples of successful adaptation to the reef environment. These interactions teach her about territorial behaviors, optimal feeding locations, and the social protocols of sea turtle communities. The seasonal patterns of the coastal environment differ significantly from those Marina experienced in the open ocean. Tidal cycles create regular changes in water depth and current flow. Seasonal storms can dramatically alter the underwater landscape. Temperature variations are more extreme in shallow water, requiring behavioral adaptations to maintain optimal body temperature. As Marina settles into her new coastal lifestyle, she begins to establish the home range that will define her adult habitat. She learns the locations of the richest seagrass beds, the safest resting areas, and the most reliable sources of fresh water. This detailed knowledge of her local environment will serve her well as she continues to grow toward full maturity and eventual participation in the ancient ritual of reproduction that has driven her species for millions of years. 25 years have passed since Marina first touched the Caribbean waters as a hatchling, and she has grown into a magnificent adult sea turtle measuring nearly 4 feet in length and weighing over 200 pounds. Her shell bears the scars and markings of a life well lived in the ocean. Small nicks from encounters with coral, smooth patches where algae has grown and been cleaned away, and the deep, rich coloration that marks her as a fully mature green sea turtle. During the spring of her 26th year, Marina begins to experience sensations and urges that she has never felt before. Deep within her body, biological changes are occurring that connect her to the most ancient and mysterious aspects of sea turtle life. Hormones course through her system, triggering behaviors and instincts that have been dormant since her birth. Most powerfully, she feels an irresistible calling to return to the beach where her life began. The navigation challenge that Marina faces is extraordinary by any measure. She must travel hundreds of miles through open ocean to reach a specific stretch of Caribbean coastline that she has not seen since she was a tiny hatchling. Yet somehow, through mechanisms that scientists are only beginning to understand, she possesses a detailed magnetic map of her route. The Earth's magnetic field, which she learned to sense during her juvenile years, now serves as a precise guidance system leading her home. Marina's journey to her natal beach follows ancient pathways that sea turtles have used for millions of years. She swims with purpose and determination, stopping only briefly to feed and rest. Her powerful flippers propel her through varying ocean conditions with the efficiency of a creature perfectly adapted to long-distance travel. She navigates around islands, through shipping channels, and across deep ocean basins with unwavering accuracy. As Marina approaches the familiar waters of her birth, she begins to encounter other female sea turtles following the same irresistible urge. These convergent migrations create temporary aggregations of adult females, all driven by the same ancient programming to return to their respective birthplaces. The waters near the nesting beaches become busy with turtle traffic, as dozens of mature females arrive from feeding grounds scattered across the Caribbean and Western Atlantic. The coastal waters near Marina's natal beach carry scents and tastes that trigger powerful memories buried deep in her nervous system. The unique chemical signature of this particular coastline, created by the combination of terrestrial runoff, local marine life, and specific geological features, serves as a final confirmation that she has found her destination. Her excitement and anticipation build as she recognizes the underwater topography of her birthplace. Marina's first approach to the nesting beach occurs during daylight hours, when she can assess the conditions but is not yet ready to emerge from the safety of the water. She swims in the shallow waters just offshore, observing the beach profile, the vegetation line, and the absence of obvious threats. Her keen senses evaluate every aspect of the environment, ensuring that conditions are suitable for the momentous event that is about to unfold. The urge to nest becomes overwhelming as night falls and the beach grows quiet. Marina has not eaten in several days, her body having shifted all available energy toward the reproductive process. Her movements become more deliberate and focused as she prepares for the transition from her aquatic environment to the terrestrial world, where she must complete her nesting behavior. Other females are already emerging onto the beach as Marina makes her decision to leave the water. The sight of these other turtles engaged in nesting activities provides both guidance and reassurance that she has arrived at the right place and time. The beach, which seemed empty and peaceful during the day, now reveals itself as the site of one of nature's most remarkable reproductive gatherings. As Marina's flippers touch the sand of her birthplace for the first time since her hatchling emergence, she completes a circle that connects her to generations of ancestors who have made the same journey. The beach sand, warmed by the day's sun and now cooling in the night air, feels familiar beneath her body despite the decades that have passed since her last contact with this terrestrial environment. Marina's emergence onto the beach represents one of the most vulnerable moments in her adult life, as she leaves the safety and support of her aquatic environment to perform a ritual that has remained unchanged for over 100 million years. Her massive body, so graceful and efficient in water, now moves awkwardly across the sand as she searches for the perfect nesting site. The selection of a nesting location requires careful evaluation of multiple factors that Marina assesses through instincts refined by millions of years of evolution. She needs a site that is above the high tide line to prevent flooding, but not so far inland that the journey becomes exhausting. The sand must be the right texture and temperature for proper egg development, and the location must be relatively protected from predators and human disturbance. Using her rear flippers as sensitive probes, Marina tests the sand temperature and composition at several potential sites. She can detect subtle differences in moisture content, grain size, and compaction that will affect the success of her nest. The ideal location will maintain stable temperature and humidity throughout the 2-month incubation period, while providing adequate drainage to prevent waterlogging. Once Marina selects her nesting site, she begins the exhausting process of excavation. Using her rear flippers with remarkable precision, she digs a perfectly shaped flask-shaped chamber approximately 18 inches deep. The sides of the nest are smooth and symmetrical, created by the alternating scooping motions of her flippers. Sand flies in graceful arcs as she works, and her breathing becomes labored from the physical effort required. The egg-laying process itself is a profound experience that connects Marina to the deepest mysteries of life. Over the course of nearly an hour, she deposits 110 perfectly formed eggs into the nest chamber. Each egg, about the size of a ping-pong ball with a soft, leathery shell, represents the potential for a new generation of sea turtles. The eggs fall gently into the chamber, automatically arranging themselves in the optimal configuration for development. Marina's behavior during egg-laying enters an almost trance-like state as powerful hormones flood her system. Her eyes may leak tears that help remove excess salt from her body, giving the impression that she is crying during this emotional process. Her flippers work automatically to position each egg carefully, and she seems completely focused on the task at hand, oblivious to external distractions. After the last egg is deposited, Marina begins the careful process of covering and camouflaging her nest. She uses her rear flippers to pack sand gently around the eggs, creating multiple layers that will provide insulation and protection. The covering process is as precisely executed as the excavation, with Marina taking care not to damage the delicate eggs while ensuring adequate protection. The final stage of nesting involves Marina's attempts to conceal the nest location from potential predators. She spreads sand over a wide area around the actual nest site, creating false trails and disturbed areas that might confuse predators searching for eggs. This elaborate camouflage technique helps ensure that her precious eggs will remain hidden throughout the incubation period. As Marina completes her nesting ritual and prepares to return to the ocean, she experiences a mixture of exhaustion and accomplishment. The entire process has taken over 3 hours of concentrated effort, and her energy reserves are completely depleted. Yet she has successfully completed the most important task of her adult life, ensuring that her genetic legacy will continue into the next generation. Marina's return journey to the water is slower and more labored than her arrival, as fatigue from the nesting process affects her movement across the sand. She pauses frequently to rest, her massive body heaving with the effort of terrestrial locomotion. The approaching dawn adds urgency to her need to reach the safety of the ocean before daylight exposes her to additional predators and the dangerous heat of the tropical sun. The moment Marina's body re-enters the Caribbean waters represents a return to her natural element and the completion of a reproductive cycle that has been millions of years in the making. As the buoyant water supports her weight once again, she experiences immediate relief from the gravitational stress of her terrestrial adventure. In the quiet depths of Puget Sound, where filtered sunlight creates dancing patterns on the rocky seafloor, something remarkable is about to happen. Suspended from the ceiling of a carefully chosen cave, thousands of tiny eggs hang like translucent pearls, each one no larger than a grain of rice. For 6 months, a devoted mother octopus has tended these precious capsules, gently cleaning them with her arms and ensuring they receive the perfect flow of oxygenated water. Inside one of these delicate eggs, Aria is ready to enter the world. She is impossibly small, measuring less than half an inch from the tip of her mantle to the ends of her 8 tiny arms. Yet she possesses all the complex capabilities that make octopuses among the most intelligent creatures in the sea. Her translucent body pulses with the rhythm of her 3 hearts, and her large eyes, already remarkably developed, peer through the egg membrane at the dim world beyond. The hatching process begins with Aria using a specialized egg tooth to create a small hole in her protective capsule. The first taste of seawater triggers ancient genetic programs that have guided octopus development for millions of years. Her chromatophores, the specialized cells that will give her the ability to change color and pattern, begin their first tentative experiments, creating subtle waves of color across her tiny body. As Aria emerges from her egg, she immediately demonstrates the remarkable coordination that characterizes her species. Her 8 arms move independently yet harmoniously, each one equipped with dozens of suction cups that allow her to taste and feel her environment simultaneously. Her soft body, lacking any rigid skeleton, can compress and expand in ways that seem to defy physics, allowing her to squeeze through openings much smaller than her apparent size. The moment of hatching represents both liberation and abandonment for Aria. Her mother, weakened by months of devoted care and fasting, is approaching the end of her life cycle. The cave that has served as a nursery will soon become empty, leaving Aria and her thousands of siblings to face the ocean's challenges alone. This solitary nature, programmed into octopus genetics, ensures that limited food resources won't be depleted by overcrowding. Aria's first movements in the open water reveal the remarkable locomotion abilities she has inherited. Her mantle contracts rhythmically, forcing water through her siphon to create jet propulsion that can carry her quickly through the water. Her arms trail behind her like streamers, ready to grasp any surface or prey item within reach. When she needs to move more precisely, she can use her arms to crawl and climb across the rocky surfaces of the seafloor. The sensory world that Aria enters is incredibly rich and complex. Her sophisticated eyes, similar in many ways to human eyes but evolved completely independently, can detect subtle movements and changes in light that indicate prey, predators, or suitable shelter. Her arms are covered with chemoreceptors that allow her to taste everything she touches, providing detailed information about the chemical composition of her environment. Aria's first feeding attempts reveal both her predatory instincts and the learning curve she faces as a newly independent creature. Small crustaceans and marine worms represent ideal prey for her size, but capturing them requires coordination between her visual tracking, arm movement, and the precise deployment of her suction cups. Each successful capture teaches her more about timing, positioning, and the subtle art of ambush hunting. The rocky reefs and kelp forests of Puget Sound provide Aria with an ideal nursery environment. The complex 3-dimensional structure offers countless hiding places where a small octopus can shelter from predators, while the rich marine ecosystem supports abundant populations of the small prey animals that sustain young octopuses. Every crevice and overhang represents both potential shelter and hunting ground. As Aria's first day in the ocean progresses, she begins to develop the territorial behaviors that will characterize her adult life. She investigates potential den sites, testing the security and comfort of various caves and rock formations. Her instincts guide her toward locations that offer protection from predators while providing good visibility of the surrounding area for hunting opportunities. The transition from egg to independent life represents one of the most dramatic transformations in the animal kingdom, and Aria navigates it with the remarkable adaptability that has made octopuses successful in virtually every marine environment on Earth. Within hours of her birth, Aria begins to discover the most remarkable ability possessed by any creature in the ocean: the power to become virtually invisible at will. Her skin contains millions of specialized cells called chromatophores, each one a tiny bag of colored pigment that can be expanded or contracted by surrounding muscle fibers. Yellow, red, and brown chromatophores work in coordination with reflective cells, called iridophores and leucophores, to create an almost unlimited palette of colors and patterns. Aria's first experiments with camouflage are instinctive but clumsy, like a painter learning to control a brush. As she settles against a piece of brown kelp, her skin begins to shift toward matching tones, but the process is slow and the color match imperfect. Her excitement at this discovery causes rapid color changes to ripple across her body, creating waves of pattern that actually make her more visible rather than less. Learning to control this remarkable system will take practice and patience. The complexity of octopus camouflage extends far beyond simple color changes. Aria possesses specialized skin cells called papillae that can physically alter her texture, creating raised bumps, ridges, and projections that perfectly mimic the surface she's trying to match. When she settles against a barnacle-encrusted rock, her skin gradually develops matching bumps and irregular surfaces that break up her outline and make her nearly impossible to detect. Practicing on different substrates teaches Aria the vast range of her camouflage abilities. Against sandy bottom, she becomes a uniform tan color with subtle modeling that matches the grain patterns in the sediment. When hiding among purple and orange sponges, her chromatophores create brilliant displays that would be stunning if they weren't so perfectly effective at concealment. Each successful camouflage session builds her confidence and refines her control. The behavioral aspects of camouflage prove as important as the physical changes. Aria learns to move slowly and deliberately when camouflaged, understanding that rapid movement will betray her position regardless of how perfect her color match might be. She discovers the importance of positioning herself so that her shadow doesn't give away her location, and she learns to keep her large eyes motionless when potential prey animals are nearby. Aria's camouflage ability serves multiple purposes beyond simple concealment. When she encounters potential predators, rapid color changes can create startled displays that confuse attackers and provide precious seconds for escape. Bright flashes of color, sudden pattern changes, and the appearance of large false eye spots can make even determined predators pause long enough for Aria to jet away to safety. The social aspects of octopus coloration begin to reveal themselves as Aria encounters other octopuses in her territory. Different color patterns and arm positions communicate information about mood, intentions, and territorial claims. A dark, mottled pattern with arms held in an aggressive posture warns other octopuses to keep their distance, while lighter colors and relaxed arm positions indicate peaceful intentions. Hunting with camouflage requires Aria to develop patience and timing skills that transform her from a visible predator into an invisible ambush hunter. She learns to position herself along the travel routes of small fish and crustaceans, becoming part of the background until prey ventures within striking distance. Her attacks, when they come, are lightning-fast explosions of motion that give prey no opportunity to escape. The energy cost of maintaining complex camouflage patterns teaches Aria to use her abilities strategically rather than constantly. Simple color changes require minimal energy, while complex texture modifications and rapid pattern shifts demand significant metabolic resources. She learns to reserve her most sophisticated displays for situations where they provide clear survival advantages. As Aria grows more skilled with her camouflage abilities, she begins to appreciate the artistic nature of her gift. The patterns she creates are not merely functional but often beautiful, combining colors and textures in ways that rival the most sophisticated human artwork. This aesthetic dimension of octopus camouflage suggests a level of creative intelligence that continues to astonish researchers who study these remarkable creatures. As Aria grows from a tiny hatchling into a juvenile octopus the size of a human hand, her remarkable intelligence begins to manifest in ways that distinguish her from virtually every other invertebrate in the ocean. Her brain, though structured completely differently from mammalian brains, contains over 500 million neurons distributed throughout her body, with 2/3 of them located in her arms. This distributed intelligence allows her to process multiple streams of information simultaneously, while her arms operate with semi-independent decision-making capabilities. Aria's first encounters with complex problem-solving reveal the sophisticated cognitive abilities that have made octopuses the subject of intensive scientific study. When she discovers a crab hiding inside a discarded bottle, she doesn't simply try to force her way in. Instead, she examines the bottle from multiple angles, tests different approaches with her arms, and eventually discovers that she can remove the bottle cap by rotating it with coordinated arm movements. This type of insight learning was once thought to be limited to higher vertebrates. The development of Aria's spatial memory becomes apparent as she begins to create detailed mental maps of her territory. She remembers the locations of productive hunting grounds, safe shelter sites, and the territories of neighboring octopuses with remarkable precision. Her ability to navigate complex three-dimensional environments and return to specific locations demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of spatial relationships that rivals that of many mammals. Aria's curiosity drives her to investigate novel objects and situations with the systematic approach of a scientist. When she encounters an unfamiliar piece of equipment dropped by human divers, she doesn't flee in fear, but instead approaches cautiously, using her arms to probe and examine every surface. She learns to distinguish between dangerous and harmless objects, building a knowledge base that will serve her throughout her life. Tool use, once considered a uniquely human trait, becomes part of Aria's behavioral repertoire as she discovers ways to manipulate objects to achieve specific goals. She learns to use rocks as hammers to crack open tough-shelled prey, carries coconut shell halves to create portable shelters, and even uses discarded plastic containers as protective armor during dangerous foraging expeditions. Each tool-use behavior demonstrates planning, foresight, and the ability to understand cause and effect relationships. The social intelligence that Aria displays surprises researchers who once believed octopuses to be entirely solitary creatures. She learns to recognize individual neighbors and remembers their behavioral patterns, territorial boundaries, and aggressive tendencies. When encounters with other octopuses are unavoidable, she demonstrates sophisticated communication through color changes, arm positions, and body postures that convey specific information about her intentions and emotional state. Aria's problem-solving abilities extend to escape artistry that would impress any magician. Her soft body allows her to squeeze through openings that seem impossibly small, but she also demonstrates the intelligence to test potential escape routes before committing to them. She learns to manipulate latches, remove lids, and even unscrew jar caps from the inside when captured in containers. These escape behaviors require understanding of mechanical principles and the ability to work backwards from desired outcomes. The play behavior that Aria exhibits suggests a level of cognitive sophistication that goes beyond mere survival needs. She engages in activities that serve no obvious biological purpose other than apparent enjoyment. Juggling small objects with her arms, creating and destroying sand sculptures, and engaging in hide-and-seek games with fish that pose no threat and offer no nutritional value. This type of play behavior is typically associated with highly intelligent animals and suggests rich inner experiences. Aria's learning abilities prove remarkably flexible and adaptive. She can learn through observation, copying behaviors demonstrated by other octopuses without direct instruction. She can also learn through trial and error, retaining successful strategies and abandoning unsuccessful ones with impressive efficiency. Perhaps most remarkably, she can learn to anticipate events and prepare for future situations, demonstrating a level of temporal reasoning that few animals possess. As Aria's intelligence continues to develop, she begins to exhibit behaviors that suggest self-awareness and metacognition, the ability to think about thinking. She demonstrates preference for certain types of problems, shows frustration when unable to achieve desired goals, and appears to take satisfaction in successfully completing complex tasks. These behaviors hint at the possibility of conscious experience in octopuses, raising profound questions about the nature of intelligence and awareness in invertebrate animals. As Aria approaches her first year of life, she has grown into a formidable predator with an arm span reaching nearly 3 feet across. Her hunting abilities have evolved from the clumsy attempts of her early days into sophisticated strategies that make her one of the most effective predators in her ecosystem. Every aspect of her anatomy and behavior has been refined by evolution for the singular purpose of capturing and consuming prey with maximum efficiency. Aria's hunting strategy begins long before she encounters prey, with careful selection and preparation of ambush sites. She chooses locations along the natural pathways that fish and crustaceans use to navigate through the reef, positioning herself where currents, topography, and cover combine to create ideal attack positions. Her ability to remain motionless for hours while maintaining perfect camouflage allows her to become an invisible trap waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The diversity of Aria's prey reflects both her adaptability and the rich marine ecosystem of the Pacific Northwest. Small fish like sculpins and rockfish form a significant portion of her diet, but she also hunts crabs, shrimp, marine worms, and occasionally other mollusks. Each type of prey requires different hunting techniques, and Aria has developed specialized approaches for each. Her flexibility as a predator allows her to exploit whatever food sources are most abundant at any given time. Aria's attack sequence happens so quickly that prey rarely has any opportunity to escape once she commits to striking. Her powerful arms shoot out from concealment with lightning speed, while her suction cups lock onto the target with a grip strong enough to hold struggling fish many times her weight. Simultaneously, her sharp beak, hidden at the center of her arms, delivers a precise bite that injects paralytic venom and begins the digestive process before the prey is even fully subdued. The venom that Aria produces represents one of nature's most sophisticated biochemical weapons. Different compounds in her saliva serve different purposes. Some paralyze prey by blocking nerve transmission, others begin breaking down proteins to aid in digestion, and still others prevent blood clotting to ensure that toxins spread quickly through the victim's circulatory system. This chemical arsenal allows Aria to subdue prey much larger than herself with minimal physical struggle. Coordination between Aria's multiple arms during hunting demonstrates the distributed intelligence that makes octopuses such effective predators. While some arms restrain struggling prey, others can simultaneously explore the surrounding area for additional threats or opportunities. Her arms can taste what they touch, allowing her to identify and evaluate potential prey items through chemical cues alone. This multitasking capability gives her significant advantages over predators that must focus their entire attention on a single task. Aria's hunting success rate improves dramatically as she learns to read the subtle behavioral cues that indicate when prey animals are most vulnerable. She recognizes the feeding patterns of different species, the times of day when they are most active, and the environmental conditions that make them less alert to danger. Fish that are feeding on plankton, crabs that are molting and have soft shells, and tired migrants passing through her territory all present optimal hunting opportunities. The psychological aspects of Aria's hunting behavior reveal sophisticated understanding of prey psychology. She has learned to exploit the specific fears and blind spots of different species, positioning herself to take advantage of natural prey behaviors. Some fish can be lured closer by subtle arm movements that mimic food items, while others are best approached during their natural rest periods when their guard is down. Aria's feeding behavior demonstrates remarkable efficiency in extracting nutrition from her catches. Her powerful beak can crack through shells and exoskeletons, while her rasping radula strips meat from bones with mechanical precision. She has learned to consume prey in optimal sequences, eating the most nutritious parts first and discarding inedible components in ways that don't attract scavengers to her hunting grounds. The territorial aspects of Aria's hunting behavior involve defending the most productive areas from competitors while avoiding unnecessary conflicts that could result in injury. She maintains a mental map of the hunting territories of neighboring octopuses and understands the complex social dynamics that determine access to the richest feeding grounds. Her success as a hunter depends not just on her physical abilities, but also on her understanding of the social and ecological context in which she operates. As Aria reaches maturity, her relationship with her environment evolves beyond simple survival into something approaching artistry. The den she has chosen as her permanent residence represents far more than just a shelter. It becomes the center of an elaborate underwater kingdom that she designs, constructs, and maintains with the dedication of a master architect. Her home, nestled in a rocky outcropping 50 feet below the surface, provides the perfect balance of protection, visibility, and access to rich hunting grounds. The transformation of Aria's den from a simple cave into a sophisticated living space demonstrates the remarkable manipulative abilities that set octopuses apart from other marine creatures. Using her powerful arms, she moves rocks weighing many times her body weight, arranging them into walls, barriers, and decorative features that both enhance the den's security and reflect her individual aesthetic preferences. The main entrance remains partially concealed, behind a carefully positioned boulder that can be quickly moved into place when danger threatens. Aria's garden extends far beyond the physical boundaries of her den, encompassing nearly a quarter-acre of seafloor that she actively manages and modifies. She clears debris from preferred hunting areas, arranges rocks to create ambush points, and even transplants interesting specimens like colorful sponges and anemones to location where they enhance both the beauty and functionality of her territory. This environmental modification represents a level of ecosystem engineering rarely seen in invertebrate animals. The collection of objects that Aria accumulates around her den reveals both her intelligence and her aesthetic sensibilities. Shiny metal objects, colorful shells, interesting rocks, and discarded human artifacts are carefully arranged in patterns that seem to serve no practical purpose other than visual appeal. This behavior, similar to the bower-building activities of certain birds, suggests that octopuses may have an innate appreciation for beauty that goes beyond simple survival needs. Maintenance of Aria's territory requires constant attention and significant energy expenditure. She regularly patrols the boundaries of her domain, repairing storm damage, removing accumulated debris, and updating her arrangements to reflect changing conditions or new acquisitions. Her movements through her territory follow established patterns that maximize efficiency, while ensuring that every area receives regular inspection and care. The defensive features of Aria's den demonstrates sophisticated understanding of fortification principles. Multiple escape routes provide options for retreat under different threat scenarios. Carefully positioned rocks create barriers that force potential intruders to approach from predictable direction, where Aria can best defend herself. Hidden caches of rocks and shells provide ammunition for the projectile-throwing behavior that octopuses use to drive away unwanted visitors. Aria's den serves as both workshop and warehouse for her various activities. Different areas are designated for specific purposes. A feeding area where she consumes prey and discards inedible remains. A cleaning station where she grooms her arms and maintains her camouflage abilities. And a display area where she practices the color patterns and arm movements used in communication with other octopuses. The social aspects of Aria's territory management involve complex negotiations with neighboring octopuses and other marine animals. She has established informal boundaries with adjacent territory holders, respecting their domains while firmly defending her own. Temporary truces during abundant food periods give way to stricter territorial enforcement when resources become scarce. These social contracts demonstrate sophisticated understanding of community dynamics. Seasonal changes in Aria's territory reflect her ability to anticipate and prepare for environmental variations. During winter storms, she reinforces her den's structural elements and creates additional sheltered areas for use during harsh weather. Spring cleaning involves removing accumulated sediment and organic matter, while summer modifications focus on improving ventilation and creating shaded areas for temperature regulation. The impact of Aria's territorial behavior extends throughout the local ecosystem. Her hunting activities help control populations of small fish and invertebrates, while her construction projects create habitat improvements that benefit other species. Smaller fish often shelter in the rock arrangements she creates, while her discarded prey remains provide food for scavengers and decomposers. Through her territorial management, Aria becomes a keystone species, whose activities influence the entire community structure. As Aria approaches her second year of life, her territory represents the accumulated work of months of careful planning and construction. Every rock placement, every cleared area, and every decorative arrangement reflects decisions made with intelligence and foresight that continue to challenge traditional assumptions about invertebrate cognition and behavior. As Aria approaches her second year of life, profound changes begin occurring in her body and behavior that signal the approaching culmination of her life cycle. Her skin patterns become more vivid and complex, her movements take on new urgency, and she begins to respond to chemical signals in the water that she had previously ignored. The time has come for Aria to participate in the ancient and dangerous ritual of octopus reproduction. The male octopus that enters Aria's territory represents both opportunity and mortal danger. Male octopuses are typically much smaller than females, making them vulnerable to being eaten by potential mates who might view them as convenient protein sources rather than reproductive partners. The male approaching Aria must balance his reproductive instincts with survival needs, using careful displays of color and posture to communicate his intentions from a safe distance. Aria's initial response to the male's presence is aggressive and territorial, her skin flashing warning colors and her arms positioned in threatening displays. The male must prove his worthiness through a complex courtship ritual that demonstrates both his fitness as a mate and his non-threatening intentions. His specialized reproductive arm, called a hectocotylus, remains carefully concealed until Aria's aggression subsides and courtship can begin in earnest. The courtship dance that unfolds between Aria and her suitor represents one of nature's most complex and dangerous romantic rituals. The male approaches in a series of carefully choreographed movements, his skin displaying intricate patterns of color that communicate specific information about his species, health, and reproductive readiness. Aria responds with her own color displays, gradually shifting from aggressive warnings to more neutral acknowledgments of his presence. Communication during courtship. relies heavily on the sophisticated visual language that octopuses have evolved for social interactions. Rapid color changes, specific arm positions, and subtle body movements convey emotional states and intentions with remarkable precision. The male's ability to read and respond appropriately to Aria's signals determines whether the encounter will result in successful mating or his consumption as an unwelcome intruder. The physical act of mating involves the male carefully inserting his hectocotylus into Aria's mantle cavity to transfer packets of sperm called spermatophores. This process requires extraordinary coordination and trust, as Aria must remain calm and cooperative while the male performs this vulnerable and intimate procedure. The male's hectocotylus, specially modified for sperm transfer, actually detaches and remains with Aria, carrying the genetic material that will fertilize her eggs. After successful mating, the male's life essentially ends. Weakened by the reproductive process and lacking the regenerative abilities needed to replace his lost hectocotylus, he typically dies within days or weeks of mating. This reproductive strategy, while seemingly wasteful, ensures that all available energy resources are concentrated on egg production and care rather than being divided between multiple reproductive attempts. Aria's behavior undergoes dramatic changes following successful mating as her body begins the energy-intensive process of egg production. She becomes less active in hunting, relying instead on stored energy reserves to fuel the development of thousands of eggs within her body. Her territorial behavior intensifies as she prepares to select the perfect location for her eventual nesting site. The selection of a nesting site represents one of the most important decisions of Aria's life. She evaluates potential locations based on multiple criteria: protection from predators, adequate water flow for oxygenation, temperature stability, and proximity to food sources for the extended period of egg care that lies ahead. The cave she eventually chooses will become both nursery and tomb, the place where she will tend her eggs until her own life comes to its natural end. As Aria's eggs develop within her body, they represent not just the next generation of octopuses, but also the culmination of her remarkable life journey. Every skill she has learned, every adaptation she has made, and every challenge she has overcome has been shaped by evolution's relentless pressure to ensure reproductive success. Her upcoming role as a devoted mother will demand the ultimate sacrifice, but it will also complete the cycle that connects her to millions of years of octopus evolution. The transformation from solitary hunter to dedicated mother marks the beginning of Aria's final and most important life phase, one that will test every aspect of her intelligence, determination, and capacity for devotion in service of ensuring her offspring's survival. 6 months after her mating encounter, Aria has undergone a transformation so profound that she is barely recognizable as the vibrant, active predator she once was. Her body, once sleek and powerful, has become pale and gaunt, as every available calorie has been redirected toward the production and care of nearly 100,000 eggs that now hang like precious jewels from the ceiling of her carefully chosen nursery cave. The eggs that Aria tends with obsessive devotion represent the culmination of her entire existence. Each translucent capsule, no larger than a grain of rice, contains a perfectly formed miniature octopus, equipped with all the genetic wisdom accumulated over millions of years of evolution. Aria's constant care ensures that each egg receives the optimal flow of oxygenated water, protection from fungal infections, and gentle cleaning that removes debris and prevents bacterial growth. Aria's behavior during this brooding period demonstrates the ultimate expression of maternal sacrifice found anywhere in the animal kingdom. She has not left her den to hunt for over 4 months, surviving entirely on the energy stored in her body tissues. Her once powerful arms, now thin and weakened, continue their tireless work of egg maintenance despite her declining physical condition. Her skin, no longer capable of the brilliant displays that once served her so well, has faded to a translucent pallor that reveals the outline of her internal organs. The cave that serves as Aria's nursery has been transformed into a fortress, designed to protect her vulnerable offspring from the countless threats that surround them. She has sealed most entrances with carefully positioned rocks, leaving only a single opening that she can defend easily. Her collection of projectile stones, accumulated over months of preparation, provides ammunition for driving away potential predators who might view her eggs as an easy meal. As Aria's physical condition continues to deteriorate, her dedication to her eggs never wavers. She uses her arms to create gentle currents that ensure optimal water circulation around each egg cluster. She carefully removes any eggs that show signs of infection or damage, preventing problems from spreading to healthy eggs. Her vigilance is absolute, and her responses to potential threats remain swift and effective despite her weakened state. The first signs of hatching begin to appear as tiny movements within individual eggs signal that Aria's offspring are ready to enter the world. Her excitement at these developments manifests in subtle color changes that ripple across her faded skin, the last displays of the magnificent camouflage abilities that once made her invisible to prey and predator alike. Each successful hatch represents a victory earned through months of unwavering devotion. Aria's final weeks are marked by the gradual emergence of her offspring, tiny translucent copies of herself that immediately demonstrate the remarkable capabilities she has passed on to them. As each miniature octopus emerges from its egg and begins its journey toward independence, Aria experiences a satisfaction that transcends her physical suffering. Her genetic legacy, encoded in thousands of offspring, will carry forward the adaptations and behaviors that have made her species successful for millions of years. The end of Aria's life approaches with the quiet dignity characteristic of octopus reproduction. Her body, having given everything to ensure her offspring's survival, can no longer sustain the basic functions necessary for life. Her movements become slower and less coordinated. Her responses to stimuli fade, and her once brilliant intelligence begins to dim as her nervous system shuts down from starvation and exhaustion. Aria's final act is to ensure that her nursery cave remains secure for the last of her hatching offspring. Using the remnants of her strength, she arranges the defensive rocks one final time, creating barriers that will protect her youngest children during their most vulnerable hours. As her last offspring swim away into the vast Pacific Ocean to begin their own remarkable journeys, Aria's life comes to its peaceful conclusion. The legacy that Aria leaves behind extends far beyond her individual offspring. Through her devoted care, she has given each of her children the best possible start in life, ensuring that they carry forward not just her genes, but also the environmental advantages that her careful parenting has provided. Some of her offspring will become prey for other marine animals, fulfilling their role in ocean food webs, while others will grow to become the next generation of intelligent, adaptable predators that continue the ancient octopus tradition of survival through intelligence, flexibility, and remarkable devotion to the continuation of their species. In the quiet depths where Aria spent her final months, the empty nursery cave stands as a monument to one of nature's most profound expressions of parental sacrifice, a reminder that intelligence and emotion are not limited to creatures with backbones, but can be found in the most unexpected forms throughout Earth's vast oceans. In the crystal-clear waters of the Gulf of Mexico, where sunlight penetrates 30 feet down to illuminate a sandy bottom dotted with sea grass, something extraordinary is about to happen. A pod of bottlenose dolphins moves through the gentle swells in their graceful, undulating rhythm, but today their formation centers around one particular female, whose behavior signals that a momentous event is imminent. Echo's mother, Melody, has been swimming in slow, deliberate circles with her pod sisters providing protective escorts on all sides. For nearly 12 months, she has carried her developing calf through the rich feeding grounds of the Gulf Coast, and now the time has come for the next generation to join their sophisticated society. The other females in the pod recognize the signs, and instinctively form a defensive ring that will protect both mother and newborn during this vulnerable time. The birth itself happens quickly but with remarkable coordination. As Echo emerges tail first into the warm salt water, her mother immediately guides her to the surface for that crucial first breath. Echo's blowhole opens instinctively as she breaks through the water's surface, and the rush of air into her lungs triggers the beginning of a lifetime of conscious breathing that will define her existence as a marine mammal. Echo's first sensations are overwhelmingly rich and complex. The taste of her mother's milk, immediately available and perfectly formulated for rapid growth, provides both nutrition and comfort. The feeling of warm water flowing over her sensitive skin creates a sense of weightless freedom that no land mammal can ever experience. Most importantly, the constant stream of echolocation clicks from her mother and podmates creates an acoustic picture of her environment that is more detailed than any visual system could provide. The bond that forms between Echo and her mother in these first hours is profound and will last for years. Melody's vocalizations, a unique combination of whistles, clicks, and burst pulse sounds, become Echo's first language lessons. Each call carries specific meaning: reassurance, location information, warnings about potential dangers, and expressions of affection that help cement their relationship. Echo's tiny voice, though not yet developed enough for complex communication, responds with instinctive calls that trigger protective behaviors in all the adult females nearby. Echo's physical capabilities, though impressive for a newborn, still require significant development before she can fully participate in dolphin society. Her swimming is clumsy but enthusiastic, and she must surface to breathe much more frequently than the adults around her. Her echolocation system, though functional, lacks the precision and range that will come with practice and neural development. Most importantly, she must learn to coordinate her breathing with swimming, a skill that seems automatic but actually requires considerable practice. The pod structure that surrounds Echo represents one of the most sophisticated social systems in the animal kingdom. Multiple generations of related females work together to protect, educate, and support each other's offspring. Echo's grandmother, aunts, and older sisters all take active roles in her early care, providing backup support for her mother and additional sources of learning and socialization. This extended family network ensures that Echo will receive the best possible preparation for adult life. Echo's first feeding experiences reveal the remarkable efficiency of dolphin milk, which contains nearly 10 times the fat content of cow's milk. This rich nutrition fuels rapid growth that will see Echo double her birth weight within her first few months. The nursing process itself strengthens the bond between mother and calf, while teaching Echo important lessons about timing, patience, and the rhythms of dolphin social life. The protective formation that the pod maintains around Echo and her mother serves multiple purposes beyond simple defense. It creates a calm water environment that makes swimming easier for the newborn, reduces the energy expenditure required for the mother during nursing, and provides educational opportunities as Echo observes the sophisticated behaviors of her family members. Every aspect of pod life is designed to maximize the survival chances of the youngest members. As Echo's first day progresses, she begins to show the curiosity and intelligence that characterize her species. She investigates floating objects with gentle bumps from her rostrum, follows the movements of fish with obvious interest, and attempts to imitate the vocalizations of the adults around her. These early explorations, though simple, represent the beginning of a learning process that will continue throughout her remarkably long life. The safety and warmth of the pod environment allows Echo to focus entirely on growth, learning, and the development of the social bonds that will define her identity. Surrounded by the gentle clicks of echolocation, the reassuring presence of her family, and the infinite possibilities of the ocean around her, Echo begins her journey as one of the sea's most intelligent and social creatures. As Echo grows from a newborn into an active juvenile dolphin, she begins to develop the most remarkable sensory ability possessed by any creature on Earth: the power to see with sound. Her echolocation system, though present at birth, requires months of practice and refinement before it becomes the precise tool that will guide her through a lifetime of underwater navigation, hunting, and social interaction. Echo's first experiments with echolocation are clumsy but fascinating to observe. She produces random series of clicks while watching her mother demonstrate proper technique. Her tiny melon, the organ that focuses sound waves, gradually learning to shape and direct acoustic signals. The returning echoes create a confusing jumble of information that her developing brain must learn to interpret and organize into meaningful pictures of her environment. Melody patiently guides Echo through the fundamentals of acoustic imaging, positioning herself at various distances and angles while encouraging her daughter to practice target recognition. Echo learns that different click patterns produce different types of information. Rapid-fire clicks for detailed examination of nearby objects, slower sequences for long-range scanning, and specialized frequencies for penetrating different materials and textures. The three-dimensional acoustic picture that Echo gradually learns to construct is far more detailed than any visual system could provide. She can perceive the internal structure of fish, detecting swim bladders and bone density that indicate species, size, and health status. She can examine the sandy bottom and identify buried objects, hidden prey, and changes in substrate composition. Most remarkably, she can see through murky water and in complete darkness with perfect clarity. Echo's developing echolocation abilities reveal a world of acoustic wonders that humans can barely imagine. The clicks she produces can penetrate several feet into sand and mud, revealing buried fish and invertebrates that are completely invisible to visual inspection. She learns to recognize the acoustic signatures of different materials, the dense echoes of rocks and coral, the hollow sounds of shells and swim bladders, and the soft absorption patterns of marine vegetation. Practicing with her podmates teaches Echo the social aspects of echolocation use. She learns to recognize the individual acoustic signatures of family members, understanding that each dolphin's echolocation has unique characteristics that serve as vocal fingerprints. She discovers how to coordinate her clicking with others to avoid acoustic interference, and she begins to understand how shared echolocation can create collaborative hunting strategies. The precision of Echo's developing sonar system soon surpasses that of any human-made technology. She can detect wires as thin as human hair, distinguish between objects that differ in size by less than an inch, and identify the species of fish from their acoustic signatures alone. Her brain processes this acoustic information at incredible speeds, creating real-time three-dimensional models of her environment that update continuously as she moves through the water. Echo's first successful solo hunting experiences demonstrate the practical applications of her echolocation mastery. She learns to track individual fish through schools of hundreds, following their movements with acoustic precision while planning intercept courses. Her ability to predict prey behavior by analyzing swimming patterns through sound gives her significant advantages over competitors who rely primarily on vision. The emotional and social dimensions of echolocation begin to reveal themselves as Echo matures. She discovers that her acoustic abilities can convey information about her emotional state, intentions, and desires to other dolphins who understand these subtle acoustic cues. The integration of echolocation with vocal communication creates a rich, multi-layered language system that operates on both conscious and unconscious levels. As Echo's echolocation abilities approach adult proficiency, she begins to appreciate the artistic and recreational aspects of acoustic sensing. She creates complex echo patterns by clicking at interesting objects, apparently enjoying the acoustic sculpture she creates. She engages in echolocation games with other juveniles, testing each other's abilities and exploring the creative possibilities of their remarkable sensory gift. The mastery of echolocation represents more than just the development of a sensory ability for Echo. It marks her transformation from a dependent calf into a capable member of dolphin society. Her acoustic world, invisible to most other creatures, becomes her primary reality, more important and detailed than the visual information that dominates the sensory experience of land-dwelling mammals. Through sound, Echo gains access to the hidden dimensions of ocean life that make dolphins among the most successful predators and navigators in the marine environment. As Echo approaches her first birthday, her vocal abilities have evolved far beyond the simple calls of infancy into a sophisticated communication system that rivals the complexity of human language in many ways. The waters around her pod constantly resonate with a rich symphony of whistles, clicks, burst pulse sounds, and other vocalizations that carry detailed information about emotions, intentions, locations, and social relationships. Echo's signature whistle, the acoustic equivalent of her name, develops during her second year of life through a complex process of experimentation and social feedback. This unique vocal pattern, which she will use throughout her life to identify herself to other dolphins, emerges from her attempts to imitate and modify the whistles of her family members. Her mother and podmates respond enthusiastically when Echo produces her signature whistle correctly, reinforcing this crucial aspect of dolphin identity. The complexity of dolphin vocal communication becomes apparent as Echo learns to recognize and produce different categories of sounds for different purposes. Whistles carry information over long distances and convey emotional states, with rising tones indicating excitement or alarm, and descending patterns suggesting contentment or reassurance. Burst pulse sounds, rapid series of clicks that sound almost like squeaks or barks, express more immediate emotions and reactions to specific situations. Echo discovers that dolphin communication operates on multiple levels simultaneously, combining vocal sounds with body language, echolocation patterns, and even touch to create rich, multi-dimensional conversations. A simple whistle might be accompanied by specific swimming patterns, particular echolocation click trains, and physical contact that together convey complex information about social relationships, environmental conditions, and behavioral intentions. The social aspects of dolphin communication reveal themselves as Echo learns to participate in group conversations that involve multiple individuals calling simultaneously without creating chaos or confusion. She discovers that dolphins have developed sophisticated protocols for taking turns, allowing others to speak, and building on previous contributions to ongoing discussions. These conversational skills require understanding of social hierarchy, individual personalities, and group dynamics. Echo's ability to learn and use dolphin language demonstrates remarkable cognitive flexibility as she begins to understand that different vocalizations can refer to absent objects, past events, and future plans. She learns to call for specific family members who are out of sight, request particular types of play activities, and even discuss hunting strategies before they are implemented. This referential use of language suggests abstract thinking abilities that were once thought to be unique to humans. The cultural transmission of language becomes evident as Echo learns regional dialects and pod-specific variations in vocal patterns. Her family's way of producing certain calls differs subtly from those of other dolphin groups they encounter, creating acoustic signatures that identify pod membership and regional origin. Echo must learn to understand these variations while maintaining her own pod's vocal traditions. Echo's developing language skills include the ability to engage in vocal mimicry that goes far beyond simple imitation. She learns to copy the calls of other species, the sounds of boats and machinery, and even human vocalizations with remarkable accuracy. This mimicry ability suggests that dolphins understand sound production as a creative and manipulable medium, rather than just an automatic response system. The emotional expressiveness of dolphin communication becomes clear as Echo learns to convey subtle feelings and social messages through variations in pitch, rhythm, and intensity. A whistle can express joy, frustration, curiosity, affection, or warning, depending on how it is produced and in what context. Echo's growing emotional vocabulary allows her to participate more fully in the complex social relationships that define pod life. As Echo masters the intricacies of dolphin language, she begins to understand that communication serves purposes beyond simple information exchange. Dolphins engage in vocal play, creating elaborate sound games that seem to serve no purpose other than entertainment and social bonding. They tell stories through complex vocal narratives that can last for extended periods and involve multiple participants taking different roles. The integration of Echo's communication abilities with her other cognitive skills creates a powerful toolkit for navigating dolphin society. Her ability to combine language, echolocation, and social intelligence allows her to form alliances, coordinate group activities, and maintain relationships with dozens of individuals across multiple pods. This communication mastery marks her transition from juvenile dependency to adult participation in one of the most sophisticated social systems in the animal kingdom. Echo's third year brings an explosion of playful behavior that serves as both entertainment and education, revealing the remarkable intelligence and creativity that make dolphins among the most cognitively sophisticated animals on Earth. The games that Echo and her podmates invent and play demonstrate problem-solving abilities, social cooperation, and pure joy in exploration that continues to amaze researchers who study dolphin behavior. The object play that Echo engages in reveals her understanding of physics, cause and effect, and creative manipulation of her environment. She learns to play catch with floating seaweed, coordinating with podmates to keep objects in motion through precise timing and positioning. Her ability to predict trajectories, adjust for water resistance, and compensate for the movements of other players demonstrates sophisticated spatial reasoning and motor control. Echo's favorite games often involve the creative use of water itself as a toy and tool. She learns to create vortex rings, underwater bubbles that maintain their shape and can be pushed, carried, and manipulated like solid objects. These bubble rings become the focus of elaborate games where dolphins compete to see who can create the most perfect rings, carry them the furthest, or perform the most creative manipulations. The social games that Echo plays with her age-mates teach crucial lessons about cooperation, competition, and conflict resolution. Tag games help develop swimming speed and agility while teaching the importance of fair play and taking turns. More complex group games require participants to follow rules, remember individual roles, and work together toward common goals, skills that will be essential for adult hunting and social coordination. Echo's play behavior reveals her ability to engage in pretend scenarios and imaginative thinking that goes beyond immediate physical reality. She participates in mock hunting expedition where no real prey is present, practicing the coordinated movements and communication patterns used in actual group hunts. These pretend scenarios allow young dolphins to experiment with adult behaviors in safe environments where mistakes have no serious consequences. The teaching aspect of play becomes evident as older juveniles and adults actively participate in Echo's games, subtly guiding her toward more sophisticated strategies and techniques. Her mother and aunts demonstrate advanced swimming maneuvers during play sessions, allowing Echo to observe and imitate complex behaviors. This indirect teaching method respects Echo's autonomy while ensuring she receives proper guidance. Echo's interactions with objects in her environment demonstrate tool use and environmental manipulation that rivals that of any non-human animal. She learns to use sponges as protection while foraging on the seafloor, carries shells as containers for interesting specimens, and even uses large leaves as sails to catch currents for more efficient swimming. These behaviors require planning, foresight, and understanding of material properties. The problem-solving games that Echo's pod creates test individual and group intelligence in ways that reveal remarkable cognitive abilities. Puzzles involving the manipulation of complex objects, navigation challenges through difficult terrain, and coordination tasks requiring precise timing all become sources of entertainment that simultaneously develop crucial life skills. Echo's play behavior extends to interactions with other species, demonstrating the cross-species communication and empathy that characterizes dolphin intelligence. She engages in gentle games with sea turtles, investigates the behaviors of various fish species, and even attempts to play with visiting whales. These interspecies interactions teach Echo about the diversity of marine life and help develop the social flexibility that makes dolphins successful in varied environments. The creative aspects of Echo's play reveal aesthetic sensibilities and artistic appreciation that suggest rich inner experiences. She arranges shells and coral fragments in patterns that seem to serve no practical purpose other than visual appeal. She creates elaborate swimming displays that appear to be purely artistic expressions of movement and grace. These behaviors hint at consciousness and subjective experience that goes beyond simple survival needs. As Echo's play behaviors become more sophisticated, they begin to incorporate elements of innovation and cultural transmission that will be passed on to future generations. New games that Echo and her podmates invent become part of their family's behavioral repertoire, creating cultural traditions that distinguish their group from other dolphin communities. This cultural evolution through play demonstrates the dynamic nature of dolphin society and intelligence. The transition from juvenile play to adult behavior happens gradually, with play elements being incorporated into serious activities like hunting, mating, and territory defense. Echo's extensive play experience provides her with a diverse toolkit of behaviors, problem-solving strategies, and social skills that will serve her throughout her adult life, demonstrating that play is not frivolous activity, but rather essential preparation for the complex challenges of dolphin existence. As Echo reaches her 4th year, seasonal changes in water temperature and prey availability trigger an ancient instinct that calls her pod to undertake one of the most remarkable journeys in the marine world. The migration that lies ahead will take them over 800 miles along the Atlantic coast, following routes that dolphins have used for thousands of years and testing Echo's endurance, navigation skills, and social cooperation in ways she has never experienced. The preparation for migration reveals the sophisticated planning abilities that make dolphins such successful travelers. Echo's pod coordinates with other family groups to form a larger migration assembly, with experienced matriarchs sharing information about weather patterns, feeding opportunities, and potential hazards along the route. These pre-migration gatherings involve complex acoustic discussions that can last for hours as the dolphins plan their journey. Echo's role in the migration formation teaches her about the complex social dynamics that govern long-distance travel. Younger dolphins like herself swim in protected positions within the group, surrounded by adults who can provide assistance if needed. The most experienced travelers take positions at the front and edges of the formation, using their superior navigation skills and knowledge of the route to guide the entire group safely. The navigation techniques that Echo observes during migration demonstrate the remarkable spatial intelligence that allows dolphins to travel vast distances with pinpoint accuracy. Her elders use a combination of magnetic sensing, landmark recognition, and acoustic mapping to maintain their course. They can detect subtle changes in water temperature and salinity that indicate specific geographic locations, and they recognize the acoustic signatures of various coastal features that serve as navigation beacons. As the migration progresses, Echo experiences the physical challenges of long-distance swimming for the first time. The constant movement requires efficient energy management and perfect coordination between breathing, swimming, and rest periods. She learns to swim in the slipstream of larger adults, reducing her energy expenditure while maintaining the group's pace. The rhythmic breathing patterns of group travel become a meditative experience that helps pass the long hours of swimming. The changing ocean environments that Echo encounters during migration expose her to marine ecosystems far different from her home waters. Cold water regions with different prey species require adjustments in hunting techniques, while varying water clarity affects the range and effectiveness of echolocation. Each new environment teaches Echo about the diversity of ocean life and the adaptability required for success in different habitats. Feeding opportunities during migration introduce Echo to cooperative hunting strategies that require precise coordination between multiple pods. Large schools of fish can only be effectively captured through coordinated group efforts involving dozens of dolphins working together. Echo learns to recognize her role in these complex hunting formations and to execute her part with split-second timing that ensures the success of the entire group. The social aspects of migration create bonding experiences that strengthen relationships within and between pods. Shared challenges, mutual assistance during difficult passages, and the celebration of successful feeding events all contribute to the complex web of alliances and friendships that characterize dolphin society. Echo forms new relationships with dolphins from other pods, expanding her social network in ways that will benefit her throughout her life. Whether challenges during the migration test Echo's ability to adapt to rapidly changing conditions. Storms require the pod to dive deeper and maintain tighter formations for mutual protection. Rough seas demand more energy for swimming and make surface breathing more difficult. Echo learns to read weather patterns and respond appropriately to the subtle environmental cues that indicate changing conditions. The arrival at the winter feeding grounds represents a triumphant conclusion to Echo's first major migration. The rich waters of their destination teem with prey species that are different from those in their summer habitat, requiring Echo to adapt her hunting techniques and dietary preferences. The successful completion of this arduous journey marks a significant milestone in her development as a capable adult dolphin. The knowledge and experience that Echo gains during migration become part of her permanent memory, creating mental maps and behavioral skills that she will use throughout her life. Future migrations will build on this foundation, gradually expanding her geographic knowledge and her ability to navigate the vast ocean highways that connect dolphin populations across thousands of miles of open water. As Echo enters her 7th year, she has grown into a magnificent adult dolphin measuring nearly 9 feet in length and weighing over 400 pounds. Her sleek, powerful body moves through the water with the grace and efficiency that comes from years of practice, and her intelligence has matured into the sophisticated cognitive abilities that make dolphins among the most remarkable creatures in the ocean. Echo's role within her pod has evolved from dependent offspring to contributing adult member, bringing her own unique skills and perspectives to the group's collective intelligence. Her exceptional echolocation abilities, honed through years of practice and experimentation, make her one of the pod's most effective hunters and navigators. Her vocal creativity has led to innovations in communication that are being adopted by other pod members, demonstrating the cultural evolution that characterizes dolphin society. The social relationships that Echo has developed over the years now form a complex network of alliances, friendships, and mutual obligations that extend far beyond her immediate family. She maintains close bonds with her mother and sisters, while also cultivating relationships with dolphins from other pods encountered during migrations and feeding aggregations. These relationships require constant maintenance through vocal communication, cooperative behaviors, and mutual assistance during challenging situations. Echo's hunting prowess has reached professional levels, with specialized techniques that she has developed for different prey species and environmental conditions. Her ability to coordinate with other hunters during complex group feeding events makes her a valuable participant in the pod's most ambitious hunting expeditions. She has also begun to take leadership roles in teaching hunting skills to younger pod members, passing on techniques and innovations to the next generation. The territorial aspects of Echo's adult life involve understanding and negotiating the complex boundaries that exist between different dolphin communities. While dolphins are not territorial in the traditional sense, they do maintain preferred feeding areas and social territories that require diplomatic management when different groups encounter each other. Echo's diplomatic skills and ability to communicate effectively with strangers make her valuable during these intergroup encounters. Echo's mating behaviors begin to emerge as she approaches full reproductive maturity, adding new dimensions to her social relationships and pod dynamics. The courtship displays and mate selection processes of dolphins involve sophisticated communication, demonstration of fitness and intelligence, and complex negotiations that can span months or even years. Echo's participation in these mating rituals marks her transition to full adult status within dolphin society. The mentoring role that Echo begins to assume with younger pod members reveals the teaching abilities that characterize dolphin culture. She demonstrates advanced techniques through patient repetition, provides encouragement and support during learning phases, and ensures that traditional knowledge is passed on to subsequent generations. Her teaching style reflects her own personality and the unique insights she has gained through her individual experiences. Echo's problem-solving abilities have reached their full potential, allowing her to tackle challenges that would have been impossible during her younger years. She can plan complex hunting strategies involving multiple participants, navigate through unfamiliar territories using minimal environmental cues, and adapt quickly to changing conditions that require innovative responses. These cognitive abilities make her a valuable contributor to pod decision-making processes. The leadership qualities that Echo displays during group activities suggest that she may eventually assume matriarchal responsibilities within her pod structure. Her ability to coordinate group movements, mediate conflicts between pod members, and make decisions that benefit the entire group indicate the kind of wisdom and judgment required for successful leadership in dolphin society. As Echo's adult life unfolds, she begins to understand that her individual existence is part of a much larger pattern that connects her to generations of dolphins past and future. The knowledge she has gained, the relationships she has formed, and the innovations she has contributed all become part of the cultural heritage that defines her pod's identity and ensures its continued success. The maturation process that has brought Echo to full adulthood represents not just individual development, but also the continuation of dolphin evolution and cultural transmission. Her unique combination of inherited traits and learned behaviors positions her to make significant contributions to her pod's survival and success, while ensuring that dolphin intelligence and culture continue to evolve and adapt to changing ocean conditions. At 12 years old, Echo experiences the profound transformation that comes with motherhood as she gives birth to her first calf in the same warm Gulf waters where her own life began. The tiny female she names Harmony represents not just the continuation of Echo's genetic line, but also the perpetuation of all the knowledge, skills, and cultural traditions that Echo has accumulated over her lifetime. The birth process, surrounded and supported by the same pod structure that welcomed Echo into the world, demonstrates the continuity of dolphin social traditions across generations. Echo's mother, now a grandmother, takes an active role in supporting her daughter through the early challenges of motherhood, creating a three-generation support network that ensures Harmony receives the best possible start in life. Echo's approach to raising Harmony reflects both her own personality and the accumulated wisdom of her pod's matriarchal lineage. She combines the protective instincts that drive all dolphin mothers with innovative teaching techniques that she has developed through years of observing and learning. Her patient guidance and creative problem-solving help Harmony navigate the complex challenges of early dolphin development. The teaching relationship between Echo and Harmony becomes a masterclass in dolphin education, as Echo passes on not just basic survival skills, but also the cultural innovations and specialized techniques that distinguish her pod from others. Harmony learns not just how to hunt and communicate, but also the specific dialects, hunting strategies, and social protocols that define her family's unique identity within the broader dolphin community. As Harmony grows and develops, Echo's role expands beyond individual motherhood to encompass broader educational responsibilities within the pod. Younger dolphins from other families seek out her guidance, drawn by her reputation for innovative problem-solving and effective teaching methods. This mentoring role allows Echo to influence the development of an entire generation of dolphins, multiplying her impact on pod culture and survival. The seasonal cycles that Echo has experienced throughout her life take on new meaning, as she guides Harmony through her first migrations, feeding seasons, and social gatherings. Each familiar experience becomes an opportunity to share knowledge and ensure that traditional wisdom is preserved, while also encouraging the kind of innovation and adaptation that keeps dolphin culture vibrant and responsive to changing conditions. Echo's relationship with Harmony evolves over the years from intense early bonding to a more collaborative partnership as her daughter develops independence and begins contributing her own insights to pod life. This gradual transition mirrors Echo's own development and demonstrates the sophisticated understanding of individual growth and autonomy that characterizes dolphin social relationships. The legacy that Echo creates through her teaching and mentoring extends far beyond her immediate family, as the dolphins she influences go on to raise their own offspring and lead their own pods. Her innovative techniques and cultural contributions become part of the broader tradition of dolphin knowledge that spreads through interpod contacts and continues to evolve across generations. As Echo enters her middle years, she takes on increasing responsibility for pod leadership and decision-making, drawing on decades of experience to guide her family through the challenges of a changing ocean environment. Her deep knowledge of migration routes, feeding areas, and social protocols makes her an invaluable resource for maintaining pod cohesion and success. The wisdom that Echo has accumulated over her lifetime encompasses not just practical knowledge about survival and reproduction, but also deeper understanding of the social, emotional, and cultural dimensions that make dolphin life rich and meaningful. Her ability to balance individual needs with group welfare, to maintain traditions while encouraging innovation, and to provide both guidance and freedom, reflects the sophisticated intelligence that makes dolphins among Earth's most remarkable creatures. The impact of Echo's life extends through multiple generations as her children, grandchildren, and the many dolphins she has mentored carry forward the knowledge, skills, and cultural innovations that she has contributed to dolphin society. Her genetic legacy combines with her cultural contributions to ensure that her influence on dolphin evolution and adaptation continues long after her individual life has ended. As Echo swims through the familiar waters of her territory, surrounded by family members representing multiple generations, and accompanied by podmates whose lives she has touched in countless ways, she embodies the continuity and resilience that have allowed dolphins to thrive in Earth's oceans for millions of years. Her story, unique in its individual details but universal in its themes of growth, learning, and contribution to community, represents the ongoing saga of dolphin intelligence and culture that continues to evolve with each new generation. The peaceful rhythm of Echo's mature life, marked by the satisfaction of successful teaching, the joy of family relationships, and the deep contentment that comes from a life well lived, reflects the rich inner experience that makes dolphins among the most cognitively and emotionally sophisticated creatures on our planet. In the absolute darkness of the deep Atlantic Ocean, more than 2 miles beneath the surface, where the crushing pressure would instantly destroy any surface-dwelling creature, something extraordinary begins to glow with its own inner light. Here, in the midnight zone where no ray of sunlight has ever penetrated, Lure emerges from her tiny egg as one of the ocean's most remarkable and mysterious predators. The world that welcomes Lure is unlike anywhere else on Earth, a realm of eternal night where temperatures hover just above freezing and the pressure exceeds 200 times that at sea level. Yet this alien environment, hostile to most life forms, represents the perfect nursery for creatures that have evolved over millions of years to thrive in conditions that seem impossible for complex life to exist. Lure's emergence from her protective egg capsule reveals a creature perfectly adapted for survival in the deep ocean's harsh conditions. At barely a quarter-inch in length, she already possesses the remarkable bioluminescent lure that will define her existence, though it remains dormant during these earliest hours of life. Her oversized mouth, equipped with needle-sharp teeth, marks her as a predator despite her tiny size. The deep-sea environment surrounding Lure is sparsely populated compared to surface waters, with vast distances separating individual organisms in the three-dimensional darkness. This sparse distribution means that every encounter with another creature represents a significant event that could determine the difference between feeding successfully and starving in the barren depths. Lure's first movements through the deep ocean demonstrate the neutral buoyancy that allows deep-sea fish to hover motionless in the water column without expending energy on swimming. Her swim bladder, filled with specialized gases that maintain their volume under extreme pressure, keeps her suspended in the darkness like a living constellation, waiting for opportunities to present themselves. The bioluminescent displays that surround Lure in her deep-sea nursery create a living light show that serves as communication, hunting lure, and warning system for the sparse community of deep ocean dwellers. Countless creatures produce their own light through chemical reactions, creating flashes, pulses, and steady glows that paint the darkness with brief moments of beauty and meaning. Lure's feeding during these early days consists of microscopic organisms and tiny crustaceans that drift through the deep ocean like living snow. Her hunting strategy relies primarily on ambush tactics, remaining motionless until prey ventures within striking distance of her surprisingly large mouth. Each successful feeding session provides the energy needed for continued growth in the food-scarce deep ocean. The development of Lure's iconic bioluminescent lure begins during her first weeks of life, as specialized bacteria colonize the modified fin ray that extends from her forehead. These symbiotic bacteria, which she will carry throughout her life, begin producing the cold light that will become her primary hunting tool and the feature that makes anglerfish among the most recognizable of deep-sea creatures. Lure's sensory systems develop rapidly to compensate for the complete absence of visual light in her environment. Her lateral line system becomes incredibly sensitive to water movements, allowing her to detect the approach of prey or predators from considerable distances. Her sense of smell reaches extraordinary levels of acuity, capable of detecting chemical traces in the water that indicate feeding opportunities or potential dangers. The growth rate that characterizes Lure's early development reflects the harsh realities of deep-sea survival, where feeding opportunities are rare and must be maximized when they occur. Her body can expand dramatically to accommodate prey items larger than herself, while her metabolism can slow to minimal levels during periods when food is unavailable. As Lure's first month in the deep ocean progresses, she begins to exhibit the solitary behaviors that will characterize her adult life. Unlike many fish species that benefit from schooling, deep-sea anglerfish like Lure are fundamentally independent creatures whose survival depends on individual hunting success and the ability to endure long periods of isolation in the vast darkness. The mysterious nature of deep-sea life means that Lure's development occurs in an environment that humans have barely begun to understand. Her growth and behavioral patterns follow evolutionary strategies that have been refined over millions of years in Earth's most stable yet extreme ecosystem. creating adaptations that seem almost alien compared to familiar surface-dwelling creatures. The foundation for Lure's future success as a deep-sea predator is established during these crucial early weeks as she learns to navigate the three-dimensional darkness, develop her hunting instincts, and begin the remarkable transformation that will eventually make her one of the deep ocean's most effective and distinctive hunters. As Lure grows from a tiny hatchling into a juvenile anglerfish the size of a marble, the most remarkable feature of her anatomy begins to develop in earnest. The bioluminescent lure extending from her forehead, initially just a small protrusion, starts to emit its first faint glows as the symbiotic bacteria within it multiply and establish their permanent colony. This living light will become her most important hunting tool and her signature in the dark depths. The bacterial partnership that creates Lure's bioluminescence represents one of nature's most sophisticated examples of symbiosis. The bacteria receive shelter and nutrients from their host, while Lure gains the ability to produce cold light that consumes no energy from her own metabolism. This remarkable arrangement allows her to maintain a constant lure without depleting the limited energy resources essential for survival in the food-scarce deep ocean. Lure's control over her bioluminescent display develops gradually as her nervous system learns to communicate with the bacterial colony. She begins to experiment with different light patterns, intensities, and rhythms, discovering through trial and error which displays are most effective at attracting prey. Her ability to turn the light on and off at will provides both hunting advantages and the option to remain invisible when necessary. The fishing technique that gives anglerfish their name becomes increasingly sophisticated as Lure masters the art of using her lure to attract prey within striking distance. She learns to position herself motionless in the water column with her glowing lure dangling enticingly in front of her enormous mouth, creating an irresistible target for smaller fish, drawn to what appears to be an easy meal of bioluminescent plankton. Lure's mouth continues to grow disproportionately large compared to her body size, eventually becoming capable of opening wide enough to engulf prey nearly as large as herself. Her jaw muscles develop tremendous power, while her throat expands to accommodate surprisingly large meals. This adaptation allows her to take advantage of any feeding opportunity, regardless of the prey's size relative to her own body. The hunting patience that Lure develops becomes legendary among deep-sea predators. She can remain completely motionless for hours at a time, suspended in the darkness with only her bioluminescent lure moving gently to maintain its attraction. This energy-efficient hunting strategy is perfectly suited to an environment where prey encounters are infrequent and unpredictable. Lure's teeth evolve into needle-sharp, backward-curving instruments designed to prevent any prey that enters her mouth from escaping. These teeth, constantly replaced throughout her life, can pierce through scales and flesh with minimal resistance, while their curved shape ensures that struggling prey is guided deeper into her throat rather than toward freedom. The digestive capabilities that Lure develops allow her to process prey items that would be impossible for most other fish to handle. Her stomach can expand dramatically to accommodate large meals, while her digestive enzymes are powerful enough to break down even the toughest deep-sea creatures. This efficiency ensures that she can extract maximum nutrition from every feeding opportunity. Lure's sensory integration becomes increasingly sophisticated as she learns to coordinate information from her lateral line system, chemical receptors, and bioluminescent displays. She can detect the water movements created by approaching prey, identify species through chemical analysis, and time her lure movements to maximize their effectiveness based on the behavior patterns of different target species. The territorial aspects of Lure's development involve establishing a preferred hunting zone where she can position herself for optimal feeding success. Her knowledge of local current patterns, prey migration routes, and the activities of other predators allows her to select locations that maximize her chances of encountering food. while minimizing energy expenditure and exposure to larger predators. As Lure's first year in the deep ocean progresses, her transformation from a tiny hatchling into a competent predator demonstrates the remarkable adaptations that have allowed anglerfish to thrive in one of Earth's most challenging environments. Her growing mastery of bioluminescent hunting techniques positions her to become one of the deep ocean's most effective ambush predators. The foundation of skills and adaptations that Lure develops during this crucial growth period will serve her throughout her life as she continues to grow toward her eventual adult size and the unique reproductive challenges that await female anglerfish in the mysterious depths of the ocean. At 3 years old and measuring nearly 6 inches in length, Lure has evolved into one of the deep ocean's most perfectly adapted ambush predators. Her bioluminescent lure now pulses with mesmerizing patterns that can be seen from hundreds of feet away in the absolute darkness, while her hunting techniques have reached levels of sophistication that make her virtually undetectable until the moment she strikes. Lure's mastery of camouflage extends beyond her ability to remain motionless in the water column. Her dark, mottled skin absorbs what little bioluminescent light exists in her environment, making her body nearly invisible against the black background of the deep ocean. Only her glowing lure remains visible to potential prey, appearing to float mysteriously in the darkness like a beacon of easy food. The hunting strategies that Lure has developed take full advantage of the sparse but diverse prey species that inhabit the deep ocean. She has learned to vary her lure displays based on the species she hopes to attract, using rapid flashing patterns to mimic injured prey for predatory fish, or steady glows to simulate bioluminescent plankton for filter-feeding species. This tactical flexibility makes her effective against a wide range of potential meals. Lure's understanding of deep-sea prey behavior has become encyclopedic through years of patient observation and experimentation. She knows which species are most active during different times of day, how various creatures respond to different light patterns, and the optimal positioning strategies for intercepting the vertical migrations that bring many deep-sea species up from even greater depths during nighttime hours. The timing precision that Lure demonstrates during her ambush attacks represents the pinnacle of predatory evolution. Her strikes occur with lightning speed, her massive jaws snapping shut around prey before they have any opportunity to recognize the danger. The entire attack sequence, from initial lure response to final prey capture, typically takes less than 1/10 of a second. Lure's digestive efficiency has reached remarkable levels, allowing her to survive for months between major feeding events when necessary. Her metabolism can slow to minimal levels during food-scarce periods, while her body draws on stored energy reserves with incredible efficiency. When feeding opportunities do arise, she can consume prey items up to half her own body weight in a single meal. The territorial knowledge that Lure has accumulated encompasses detailed information about current patterns, thermal layers, and seasonal variations in prey abundance throughout her hunting range. She has identified specific locations where deep-sea creatures aggregate during their vertical migrations, creating opportunities for more frequent feeding than would be possible through random encounters. Lure's sensory capabilities have reached their peak development, creating a perception of her environment that allows her to detect and track potential prey with supernatural precision. Her lateral line system can identify the species and approximate size of approaching creatures based solely on their swimming patterns, while her chemical sensors can detect the scent trail of injured fish from over a mile away. The energy economics that govern Lure's hunting behavior demonstrate remarkable intelligence in resource management. She has learned to evaluate the energy cost of pursuing different prey items against their potential nutritional value, making split-second decisions about whether to attempt capture or wait for better opportunities. This calculation ability helps her maintain positive energy balance in the challenging deep-sea environment. Lure's interaction with other deep-sea predators reveals the complex competitive dynamics that exist in the sparse ecosystems of the abyss. Her size and hunting success have earned her a position of respect among other deep-sea creatures, while her territorial boundaries are recognized and generally respected by competitors who understand the consequences of challenging such an effective predator. The isolation that characterizes Lure's existence in the deep ocean has shaped her into a completely self-reliant hunter whose success depends entirely on individual skill and adaptation. Unlike surface predators that might benefit from pack hunting or social learning, Lure must develop and refine all her techniques through personal experience and instinct. As Lure approaches her 4th year and continues to grow toward her maximum adult size, her reputation as one of the deep ocean's most effective predators begins to spread through the sparse networks of deep-sea creature communication. Her hunting success and territorial dominance mark her as a rising apex predator in the mysterious world of the abyss. The mastery that Lure has achieved in the art of deep-sea ambush hunting represents the successful culmination of millions of years of anglerfish evolution, creating a predator so perfectly adapted to her environment that she has become virtually unstoppable within her domain. As Lure reaches her 5th year and approaches full reproductive maturity, measuring nearly 8 inches in length and weighing several pounds, she begins to release chemical signals into the deep ocean water that will attract one of nature's most extraordinary romantic partners. The pheromones she produces can travel for miles through the stable water layers of the abyss, creating a chemical beacon that calls to the tiny male anglerfish who spend their entire adult lives searching for females like her. The male anglerfish that eventually locates Lure's chemical trail represents one of the most dramatic examples of sexual dimorphism in the animal kingdom. Measuring barely 1 inch in length and weighing less than a paperclip, he appears almost comically small compared to Lure's impressive bulk. Yet this tiny creature possesses extraordinary sensory capabilities that allow him to navigate vast distances through the dark ocean in search of a mate. The search behavior that brings the male to Lure's territory demonstrates remarkable dedication and navigation skill. He may have traveled hundreds of miles through the featureless abyss, following increasingly concentrated chemical gradients while avoiding the countless predators that would view him as an easy meal. His survival to reach reproductive age and locate a female represents a triumph against overwhelming odds. Lure's initial response to the male's presence is cautious evaluation rather than immediate acceptance. Her predatory instincts must be overcome by reproductive drives, while her assessment of the male's fitness and species compatibility determines whether she will accept him as a partner. The chemical communication between them involves complex exchanges of pheromones that convey information about genetic compatibility and reproductive readiness. The courtship ritual that unfolds between Lure and her diminutive suitor involves behaviors that seem almost surreal compared to typical fish reproduction. The male approaches Lure with extreme caution, using specialized sensory organs to locate the optimal attachment site on her body. His entire future depends on successfully completing the bonding process that will determine the rest of both their lives. The attachment process itself represents one of the most bizarre reproductive strategies in the natural world. The male uses his specialized jaws to bite into Lure's skin, releasing enzymes that begin dissolving the tissue barriers between them. Over the following weeks, their circulatory systems will fuse, and the male will gradually lose his independence, becoming a permanent sperm-producing appendage of the female. Lure's physiological changes during the attachment process involve accepting and integrating the male's tissues with her own body systems. Her immune system must be suppressed to prevent rejection of the foreign tissue, while her circulatory system adapts to support the additional metabolic demands of her parasitic partner. This biological merger creates a single organism with dual reproductive functions. The advantages of this extreme reproductive strategy become apparent when considering the challenges of finding mates in the vast, sparse environment of the deep ocean. By permanently attaching to lure, the male ensures that sperm will be available whenever environmental conditions favor reproduction, eliminating the need for both partners to locate each other repeatedly in the darkness. Lure's continued growth and hunting success must now support not only her own metabolic needs, but also those of her attached partner. The additional energy requirements influence her hunting strategies and territorial behavior, though the male's small size means that his impact on her overall energy budget remains minimal compared to the reproductive advantages he provides. The social dynamics of Lure's species allow for multiple males to attach to a single female if they successfully locate her and compete for attachment sites. This polygamous arrangement increases the female's reproductive options while ensuring that genetic diversity is maintained despite the challenges of mate location in the deep ocean environment. The success of the attachment process transforms both Lure and her partner into a single reproductive unit, capable of producing offspring whenever conditions are favorable. Their merger represents the completion of one of nature's most unusual courtship rituals, and the beginning of a reproductive partnership that may last for the remainder of Lure's life. As Lure adjusts to her new biological reality as a merged organism, she continues her solitary existence as a deep-sea predator, now carrying with her the genetic contribution of her tiny partner and the potential to create the next generation of anglerfish, adapted for survival in the mysterious depths of the ocean. The bizarre mating system that Lure has participated in demonstrates the extraordinary lengths to which evolution will go to ensure reproductive success in Earth's most challenging environments, creating solutions that seem almost fictional yet represent millions of years of adaptation to the unique conditions of the deep sea. 2 years after her successful mating and the permanent attachment of her male partner, Lure has grown to her maximum adult size of nearly 10 inches and developed the full reproductive capabilities that will allow her to contribute to the next generation of deep-sea anglerfish. The biological merger with her partner has reached complete integration, creating a single organism capable of producing viable offspring whenever environmental conditions favor reproduction. The reproductive cycle that Lure experiences is carefully timed to coincide with seasonal changes in deep ocean conditions that optimize her offspring's chances of survival. Though the deep sea lacks the obvious seasonal variations of surface waters, subtle changes in current patterns, water temperature, and prey abundance create periods when newly hatched anglerfish have better prospects for finding food and avoiding predators. Lure's egg production represents a massive investment of energy and resources that requires months of preparation and intensive feeding. Her body produces thousands of tiny eggs, each containing the genetic material and nutrients needed to support a developing anglerfish through its earliest stages of life. The sheer number of eggs reflects the harsh reality that only a tiny fraction will survive to reproductive maturity. The spawning process that Lure eventually undergoes involves releasing her eggs into the water column in a gelatinous mass that will slowly rise toward the surface layers of the ocean. This upward migration of eggs ensures that the developing larvae will have access to the relatively food-rich waters of the upper ocean during their most vulnerable early stages of development. Lure's eggs begin their remarkable journey through the ocean's vertical zones, experiencing dramatic changes in pressure, temperature, and light conditions as they rise through thousands of feet of water. The gelatinous matrix that surrounds them provides protection from physical damage while allowing gas exchange and nutrient absorption during the lengthy development process. The transformation that occurs within Lure's eggs during their upward journey involves the development of larvae that are completely different from their deep-sea parents. These surface-dwelling juveniles possess large eyes adapted for the bright upper ocean, streamlined bodies for active swimming, and feeding apparatus designed for capturing the abundant plankton found in surface waters. Lure's offspring spend several months living in the surface waters of the ocean, growing and developing while experiencing environmental conditions that are completely alien to their eventual adult habitat. This unusual life cycle ensures that young anglerfish have access to abundant food during their period of fastest growth, while adult reproduction can occur in the stable deep-sea environment. The mortality rate among Lure's offspring is enormous, with predation, starvation, and environmental hazards eliminating the vast majority before they can begin their descent to the deep ocean. Only the most successful juveniles will survive long enough to undergo the remarkable transformation that will adapt them for life in the abyss. Lure's contribution to the genetic diversity of anglerfish populations extends far beyond her immediate offspring, as the survivors of each reproductive cycle disperse across vast areas of ocean before settling into their adult territories. This dispersal helps maintain gene flow between distant populations and ensures the long-term evolutionary health of the species. The energy cost of reproduction leaves Lure temporarily weakened and requiring intensive feeding to restore her body condition and prepare for future reproductive cycles. Her hunting efficiency becomes even more crucial during these recovery periods, as she must rebuild her energy reserves while maintaining the basic metabolic functions needed for survival in the demanding deep-sea environment. Lure's parental investment ends with the release of her eggs, as anglerfish provide no parental care beyond the initial provisioning of nutrients within the egg structure. This reproductive strategy, while seemingly harsh, is perfectly adapted to the realities of deep-sea life, where parental care would be impractical and potentially counterproductive. The success of Lure's reproductive efforts can only be measured over multiple years as her offspring complete their complex development cycle and begin establishing their own territories in the deep ocean. The occasional encounter with juvenile anglerfish in her territory may represent her own descendants returning to the depths after their surface sojourn. As Lure recovers from her reproductive efforts and resumes her solitary existence as a deep-sea predator, she carries the satisfaction of having contributed to the continuation of one of the ocean's most remarkable and mysterious species. Her genetic legacy now dispersed throughout the world's oceans, she returns to her patient vigil in the darkness, ready to repeat the cycle that has sustained anglerfish populations for millions of years. The successful completion of Lure's reproductive cycle demonstrates the remarkable adaptations that allow life to thrive and perpetuate itself, even in Earth's most extreme and challenging environments, ensuring that the mysterious beauty of deep-sea anglerfish will continue to illuminate the ocean's darkest depths. In her 8th year, Lure has become a legendary figure in the deep Atlantic, her bioluminescent signature recognized and respected by creatures throughout the abyssal depths. Her territory now spans several square miles of prime deep-sea hunting ground, while her reputation as an apex predator has spread through the sparse networks of deep ocean creature communication. Her massive size and perfect hunting efficiency mark her as one of the most successful anglerfish in her region. Lure's accumulated knowledge of deep-sea ecosystems now encompasses detailed understanding of seasonal patterns, prey migration routes, and the complex relationships that exist between the various species that inhabit the abyss. Her mental map includes the locations of thermal vents, underwater mountains, and current convergences that concentrate marine life, making her one of the most informed residents of the deep ocean. The hunting techniques that Lure has perfected over her lifetime represent the pinnacle of ambush predation, combining experience, instinct, and intelligence in ways that make her virtually unstoppable when pursuing prey. Her bioluminescent displays have become so sophisticated that she can mimic the light patterns of multiple species simultaneously, creating complex lures that are irresistible to a wide variety of potential meals. Lure's role in the deep-sea ecosystem has evolved beyond simple predation to encompass a form of environmental management that helps maintain the delicate balance of abyssal communities. Her selective hunting practices target sick, weak, or overpopulated species, while her territorial boundaries create safe zones where smaller creatures can feed and reproduce without constant predation pressure. The reproductive success that lure has achieved over multiple spawning cycles has made her a significant contributor to anglerfish populations throughout the Atlantic Ocean. Her genetic contributions, dispersed across thousands of miles of ocean through her offspring's complex life cycle, help maintain the diversity and adaptability that allow anglerfish to thrive in changing deep-sea conditions. Lure's interactions with the few other apex predators that share her deep-sea domain demonstrate the complex social dynamics that exist even in the sparse ecosystems of the abyss. Her size and hunting success command respect from other large deep-sea creatures, while her territorial boundaries are recognized and generally avoided by potential competitors who understand the consequences of challenging such an effective predator. The changes that come with lure's advanced age reflect the remarkable longevity that characterizes successful deep-sea predators under optimal conditions. Her movements have become more deliberate and energy efficient, while her hunting strategies rely increasingly on experience and intelligence rather than raw speed. Her bioluminescent lure has reached peak efficiency, capable of producing light displays that can be customized for any hunting situation. Lure's encounters with the increasing evidence of human activity in the deep ocean reveal her remarkable adaptability in the face of new environmental challenges. The occasional appearance of research submersibles, deep-sea mining equipment, and marine debris has added new elements to her territory that she has learned to evaluate and adapt to without compromising her hunting success. The wisdom that lure has accumulated over her years in the deep ocean encompasses not just hunting knowledge, but deeper understanding of the rhythms and patterns that govern life in the abyss. Her ability to predict changes in prey abundance, anticipate the effects of distant surface weather on deep-sea conditions, and identify optimal times for reproductive activities demonstrates intelligence and environmental awareness that rivals that of much more complex animals. Lure's influence on younger anglerfish extends through her territorial management and hunting demonstrations that serve as examples for developing predators. Though anglerfish are fundamentally solitary creatures, the techniques and strategies that successful individuals like lure develop become part of the species' collective knowledge through observation and imitation. As lure continues her patient vigil in the deep Atlantic, she has transcended her role as merely a predator to become a guardian of the ancient rhythms that govern deep-sea life. Her presence helps maintain the stability and balance that allow the mysterious ecosystems of the abyss to function and thrive, despite the extreme conditions that make the deep ocean one of Earth's most challenging environments. The legacy that lure creates through her remarkable life extends far beyond her individual achievements to encompass her contributions to the health and diversity of deep-sea ecosystems. Her successful adaptation to life in the abyss demonstrates the incredible potential for life to flourish even in the most extreme conditions, while her reproductive success ensures that future generations of anglerfish will continue to illuminate the ocean's darkest depths with their mysterious beauty. In the eternal darkness where lure makes her home, she embodies the remarkable resilience and adaptability that have allowed deep-sea creatures to thrive for millions of years in Earth's most alien environment.